It is kind of cool having the microphone on here. Split left, open up YouTube. I assume you can hear me.
I can hear you, so I'm just trying to see. Advanced. I'm gonna have to figure that out later time. I'm trying to figure out how to mirror.
Left, open up YouTube. I assume you can hear me.
I can hear you, so I'm just trying to see.
Good.
Oh, apparently I'm live.
Good.
I didn't realize I was live. Oh no.
We can hear us, so that's
Good.
nice.
I did not mean to be live.
Welcome to the YouTube. Welcome to the accidental YouTube preamble.
Welcome to the accidental YouTube preamble. Order. No. Transform. Aha. Flip horizontal.
So I have to warn you. I really only watched the Michael Bay movies this week, so like my have scenes kind of mesh with my rapid fire.
Fair enough.
And as for the have not seen, we both watched one of them and we both watched the other one. So
it's true. Can you tell me what it looks like on the stream right now?
I see me and you, and then on the one side there is what looks like a chat, and on the other side there
is our ship right side, correct side? Can you read?
I mean the spur of the moment T-shirt says spur of the moment.
Beautiful.
So for me anyway, I can't see yours.
Good.
Yeah. Look right.
Because I realized whatever. I realized the last few weeks that that we were not the correct way. So, hopefully, I just realized I don't have my clock up. Hopefully, I've been having computer troubles, folks. Hopefully, me and Jordan don't get cut off. But if we do, don't panic. Stay on the line. I will be back. I have tried to clear enough space on the computer that it should not happen, but should it happen, that's what will happen. Unfortunately, I am the home computer, so Jordan can't entertain you until I get back. You just have to hang on. We will go live again. See, the Spotify people don't get that because it doesn't matter to the Spotify people. They get the jumbled version that gets cut together later on in the edit.
Hi, Soraya.
Hi. Thanks for listening. Let's start the show, Jordan. In 3, 2, 1. This podcast is brought to you by the Arete Podcast Pantheon. Please head to aretemedia.org to check out plenty of other podcasts from our great friends. And if you would also like to start your own podcast, they can help you and provide you with the tools to do so there. So please head to aretemedia.org. That's ARETE media.org. On with the show, Jordan.
On with the show, Justin.
You ever feel like you messed up the intro, but you couldn't figure out where? That's what just happened there. I'm like, I feel like I messed up the intro somewhere there. But anyway, welcome to the Spur of the Moment podcast, everybody. I am always as your host. I'm Justin, and I am joined, as always, by my forever co-host. It's Jordan, everybody.
It's the incomparable Jordan.
It's the incomparable Jordan. That's correct.
You gave me the name. You got to get it right, man.
Today's show. Apparently, Jared Leto wanted to be called Ares on Tron Ares. What a douche. The Penguin trailer. I didn't actually watch it. I meant to. Whoops. Apparently, there's a Netflix Magic the Gathering show. Colin Farrell and something about a penguin penis. And Jane the Rock's going to get a song in Moana 2. And much, much more. And then later, Transformers, SEO-friendly show. Transformers 1 is in theaters. So we went out, we watched it. We're going to do probably quite a long review of that. That's coming at the end of the show. But before that, we're going to talk about Transformers. Jordan did the Michael Bay Transformers challenge. He's a little more broken. He's a little more dead inside. I watched a bunch of Transformers television show. television shows, more than one. Some of them were very bad. A couple of them were very good. We're gonna get into those, and all the rest. Come tag along. Let's start off with Jordan. Jared Leto. Yeah, he apparently, according to Jeff Bridges, just went by Ares, his character's name, the entire time he was on set.
Method acting to the finest.
Yep, typical Jared Leto. Just typical Jared Leto.
I mean, yeah, seems
Like,
pretty on the nose.
I was really real excited for that movie until I heard Jared Leto was in it, and then I was like, excitement
He was
severely dampened.
he was the Joker that was in like one scene and then got dropped forever, right?
Yep, that's the one.
The one who was so bad as the Joker that like he didn't even get a full chance.
He was supposed to get a movie with Harley Quinn, and that movie became, that Birds of Prey movie.
Right, because he was so
bad. Exactly, he was so bad.
Yeah,
and he was so awful on set that they wrote him out of that movie that very clearly he's still in.
But I mean, there's no way that his method acting could be any worse than Jim Carrey's was when he was that one dude from Man on the Moon.
I mean, no, there's no way. That's always my go-to, and I'm like, you want to see what its awful method acting looks like? That's Jim Carrey, Man on the Moon. There's a really good documentary on, I believe it's still on Netflix. I don't know if it is, but it was at one point on Netflix, called Jim and Andy: The Great Beyond. It's honestly genuinely very good. We're like, wow, he sure seems like an asshole. Like, it's just why that documentary honestly kind of made me lose respect for Jim Carrey a little bit, because I'm like, oh, that just like, what a horrid coworker. Because at the end of the day, it's still a job, and we're like, they're still working, and like, that's just like the most obnoxious coworker ratcheted up to like 11.
I mean, I would have said up to 13.
Up to 13, certainly. So I saved a Penguin trailer that I meant to watch, because I was just gonna be like, everyone keeps saying, because I guess the first episode is out, and everyone's like, oh, it's The Sopranos but with Batman, and those two things that sounds bad. And the one trailer I saw, which is just like, it just looks like it's a mob show. Go on.
Does it have Batman in it?
Jordan, let me answer your question with a question. Do you think it has Batman in it?
Just play along with me.
Oh no,
this is Batman in it.
This is part of the bit, Jordan, because you're fully expecting me to say no. I know you are.
It doesn't. It doesn't have Batman.
We went into this with the full expectation. You knew I was going to say he wasn't in it. That was the bit I was going for.
No, yeah. So it doesn't have Batman.
No, obviously Batman's not in it.
Who cares?
Exactly. Who gives a shit? Like, that's my thing.
Like,
I keep saying it. I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. Who especially
cares?
From that universe. Especially from that universe, who cares? Like, I
don't get it. I don't get it. Like, just look at me. Look at me. I don't get it.
And like, it's not even like what Colin Farrell really gets to. Like, he's in a prosthetic the whole time. I'm sorry, I was just quickly reading this article about how they made him a penguin penis to wear. I don't know.
I need you to lead the podcast right now.
And that's not even mentioning the fact that they changed his name from Oswald Cobblepot, which is kind of like a major part of the stuff that does make him interesting, is his name, is the fact that the only reason why anyone tolerates him is because he's got a rich name, to Oz Cobb. And he's just like a bottom of the rung mob enforcer guy who like works his way up. I'm like, man, way to take an already not exceptionally interesting character and make him not very interesting.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be a pass from me.
It's
just a hard pass.
Hard pass.
Just hardest of passes.
So it's funny because whenever I do that little intro on the show, depending on how I can, like, because it shortens the articles, so a lot of times it's just like and I can't tell what it is. So if it makes it into the top of the show, it's because I can read it. So this is one of the ones I couldn't read. So James Cameron says that there's more plans for Terminator movies. And so my question to you, Jordan, is what do they do for more Terminator movies? And in your opinion, that would be
James Cameron made Terminator movies?
Yeah, he directed the first two.
Did he?
It's kind of a major part of his career. But yes, he did.
I never. Okay, interesting. I mean, okay.
You could do
So
whatever you want and bring back
for
whoever you want and do like I just no restrictions on this one. Rails are completely off.
does it have to be a movie?
I mean, yes, and yes. Okay, that one restriction. It has to be a movie in this case.
Okay.
And it's going to
If
theaters,
it
so it
has
gets a
to be a
budget.
movie,
It's Terminator.
if it has to be a movie, then I would do it where instead of them trying to go back and kill John Connor, they do the thing of trying to take out his ancestors, and so you have the Terminator going back to like something to the equivalent of the Predator movie, where it's going back to like really old
Oh,
time.
I like that.
So I don't know, pre-Columbian or
Yeah,
Revolution War, something like that, where
cowboy.
you're
Talking
really
about
taking the
everybody's a cowboy.
Terminator, yeah, cowboy, something like
That'd be
that, where you're
fun.
really taking it out of its element,
Yeah, and
and
enough of
you're
like
doing
modern
something
day.
different.
It's in a city. I think is like, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
no,
Have it have to
that's been
adapt to
done.
like an old. Yeah, that'd be kind of fun. I would get it. Like, I think that's what I'd like. Would like to watch that Terminator anime because that's to understand that's basically what it is. Where it's like, yeah, take the Terminator and put him in a different space, a different time. That's what you do with these
Yeah,
icon characters. One, that's
like
what's gonna keep it interesting
I'm
for me.
either like I kind of wish that it was in Europe. If I could have it be in Europe, because then I would have him go to medieval times,
That'd be
and
fun.
you have the Terminator, like Terminator fighting against sword wielding guys.
Yeah, that would be fun. I'd be down for that. Um, so
Um,
they added Ghostface to Mortal Kombat, and I'm like, neat. So I included it's pretty fun. He's a pretty fun character.
um,
I like the way he fights.
so like Mortal. So in that game, so who else is there? Is it like do they have
Oh, he's not
Freddy
like
and Jason? Do they have
he's a DLC character. So he's the second pack of DLC
no?
characters.
But I mean like what other DLC like are
Oh, they've
there?
had
Because
Omni
like
Man.
to me it's weird having just him if there's not
Yeah.
other horror guys.
They have had in this pack. Well, Mortal Kombat 10 they had Leatherface, they had Jason, I believe, they had Freddy Krueger. But in Mortal Kombat 1, which is what this is for, they've had Omni Man, Homelander, Peacemaker, and then now Ghostface.
One of these things just ain't like
Yeah,
the
but it got me
other.
thinking though. It got me thinking.
I would have to go with the the theme of like superheroes that kill people. I would have brought in Injustice Superman.
I mean, the thing is, you already had Homelander and Omni Man in there, so that's already two Superman variants. I'm not really interested in a third. I like Ghostface because he's different. I like the way he fights. He looks fun. But no, my question was, or my pitch is, I think they should make a horror character fighting game, and let
Are
NetherRealm make
there
it.
enough?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you got Leatherface, you got Freddy, you got Jason.
There's like five.
There's at least you got right now. You've got Art the Clown. There's a lot of good modern ones. There's enough that you could fill out a
Okay.
roster of like 10. But I would do it. I would give it a full story, and I would like give a story reason for why they're fighting each other. Sorry, I have to interrupt the show for 1 second while I turn on my fan. I'm getting warm. Jordan, vamp.
I mean that could be fun, but I then would want at least one character where you're playing as the survivor or the victim and come up with a fun way of bringing that element into it. And I'll say that again when Justin can hear me, but
Oh, that's much better.
for the audience, that's what I would do. I don't know, Justin. Justin.
You can't hear my fan, can you?
Justin.
What?
No, I don't hear your fan. I said I don't know if you were able to hear me through the headphones as I
No.
was talking, but I said one thing that I would do if this horror character fighter game is existing. I would make one of the characters the survivor,
Survivor.
like the
Oh,
hero,
oh,
the
oh, oh,
character
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah, yeah. That'd be fun. That's a fun idea. But yeah, I know I would have it where they all.
The character that has to survive all the horror
The
things. And I would
condition of
have
this
one of the
though,
characters.
I want a story mode. Like I want full bore there to be. Also, like the Jeepers Creepers. There's a lot of slide. There's gotta be at least a roster of at least 12 like slasher characters. Michael Myers.
I mean, then I want one of the characters to be Slappy from Goosebumps.
I mean, that'd be fun. I mean, he's just basically Chucky, isn't he?
I mean, that's why it would be funny to have him against Chucky.
I mean, that'd be pretty funny. Or you can get like
So-
a TLC pack where it is Slappy. That'd be fun.
You gotta sit down and write this story and pitch it to these companies, Justin.
I mean,
That's your charge.
yeah. I mean, that would be a licensing nightmare. I'm pretty sure they're all owned by different licensing companies. That's why that would never happen.
It would absolutely be a licensing nightmare. But you just write the story and take this idea to them. Let them work that out.
Let them figure that out. So, yeah, they're making a Magic the Gathering show for Netflix, and it's got
Netflix?
a showrunner, which means it's definitely happening, which is interesting because I think I've heard it get canceled a bunch of times. But I'm curious what it's gonna be. Is it gonna be like just an adaptation if it's a basic bare bones? I'm sort of trying to stall while I read the article real quick. It doesn't really say what it's about.
Is it just gonna be Yu-Gi-Oh?
That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping it's like a card game anime where they actually play the game. That would be fun. I don't want it to be just like it takes place in the world and it's like.
Yeah, or is it going to take place in the world and we're following the planeswalkers as they're summoning monsters?
That's what
fight?
I'm hoping. Yeah, I'm hoping it's a thing of like because technically speaking, you're a planeswalker in the story of the card game. Like that's the idea. So yeah, I want it to be planeswalkers fighting each other. Like that's what I want.
You're a planeswalker summoning other planeswalkers and monsters to fight for you.
Yes. Is it Yu-Gi-Oh? Yes, it's pretty much Yu-Gi-Oh, but I don't care. I mean, maybe I would do it where they just summon the monsters, like they don't actually it's not an actual card game. But I want it to engage with some way in the concept of planeswalkers. I don't want it to be just it's about one of the characters, because that's not interesting to me.
They probably wouldn't have the cards themselves in there, but they would probably have the planeswalkers as characters summoning the monsters to fight.
I mean, my dream is that it's literally just Yu-Gi-Oh! Instead of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters, it's Magic the Gathering, and it's a new. It's a whole new thing.
That would be funny, but
that'd be rad.
I don't imagine so.
That would be so dope. But no, according to this, there's no real details about it. But I mean,
we'll keep our eyes on that one.
I'm one step closer to my dream of playing Magic the Gathering while I watch Magic the Gathering. I've already played Yu-Gi-Oh! While watching Yu-Gi-Oh! It's the dream.
And played World of Warcraft while watching World of Warcraft.
It's happened. It's happened, right? So it needs to happen.
Happened.
So apparently, in the Moana 2, The Rock will sing again. And apparently he's heard it, and it gave The Rock chills. That's how good it is.
I mean, okay. I don't really... He sang in the first one. Is this big news?
I don't know, Jordan. I guess that's maybe my question. Is this big news?
I don't really think it. I kind of just assumed he would.
I assumed he would too.
This... I'm not questioning your choice of choosing this as I'm just on this website. Is this new? What caught? Now you have me questioning life, the universe, and everything of what constitutes news. What makes a thing worth reporting, Justin?
Right, when it's really obvious, who knows? Who's to say? I just report the news, Jordan. I don't create it
or question it
or question the news. I never question the news.
I question the news. That's what I'm here.
You question the news's importance. Is this news important? I don't know that it is.
I don't know. It's just I've kind of just assumed that The Rock would be singing again. Is that weird? Should I not have assumed that?
I mean, part of me was kind of hoping that he'd show up for like one second, one scene for a minor cameo, and then that's all. It's just that very brief in the trailer. That's it. That's kind of my hope. That'd be kind of funny.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. Sure.
But apparently, Jordan, John Cena, he's going to be leading Mattel's live-action Matchbox movie cast. Movie cast. I don't know why I struggled to say that in bed.
But how's that possible when you can't see him?
My first question, Jordan, is: do you even know what Matchbox is? Matchbox leads the way.
I mean, I know that it has to do with racing.
It's cars, Jordan. So he's just doing another Fast and Furious.
Oh, okay. So it's like Hot Wheels?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a type of. It's basically just Hot Wheels. If I recall,
okay.
Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the gimmick was they came in a thing. Because I seem to recall like having a thing, like that you put them in, and then they would like, it was like a little play set. But and then one of the big gimmick was it had like an elevator.
A little carrying case or something.
Yeah, and the gimmick was it had like an elevator in it.
Sounds vaguely familiar. I don't know. I was a Hot Wheels guy.
But how do you like? It's just gonna be Fast and Furious, especially with John Cena. I like John Cena. I'm willing to give him a shot, but still.
Or Need for Speed or any racing type movie.
Generic racing type movie. Like, how are you gonna differentiate Matchbox? I mean, it'd be like, I say the same thing for like, we're making a Hot Wheels movie. I'd be like, what are you going to do to make it interesting?
Well, I mean, for that one, the only thing you can do, and then it just becomes that live action Speed Racer movie. But all you can do for the Hot Wheels one is make it about a tournament and they're driving on crazy tracks, like Hot Wheels looking tracks. But then it just becomes that live action Speed Racer movie.
Or was that live action Speed Racer movie just becoming Hot Wheels? Leading the way.
I will leave that up to the viewers to decide.
So, Jordan, apparently Gary Oldman is open to joining the Harry Potter series, but not as Sirius Black. Who do you think he's open to returning as?
Hagrid or Snape?
Bigger.
Huh?
Bigger.
Dumbledore?
Wow, you went there for the second one. I was expecting to at least get a second bigger in there. Yeah, no, it's Dumbledore. He wants to be Dumbledore.
Interesting. I don't see it.
I kind of see it.
I don't see it.
I kind of see it. So slap a beard on that man, have a big, ooh, I'm Dumbledore, I'm old. I'm on death's door. I'm going to die before the end of the first season.
Here's what I'll say, Justin.
Ooh.
I don't have any faith for it at all generally, so free for all. Let anyone be anyone, and I really don't care.
I was like, let Dan Radcliffe be Dumbledore.
I have my Harry Potter. It's Daniel Radcliffe. Anything else is just not necessary for me.
It's all right.
As for if I had Daniel Radcliffe come back, no, I don't. Not Dumbledore. He's not old enough for Dumbledore. I would either. I think it would either be fun if he played Snape, because I think that would be ironic, or if he played, because he really looked up to Gary Oldman when he was on the set. I think it would be ironic if Daniel Radcliffe was serious.
I mean, we could do like he's an early 40s kind of Dumbledore. Who says he has to be an old man? Again, this is gonna suck anyway. Wild Wild West. Let's just go for it. Daniel Radcliffe could be Dumbledore. Yeah. Or he could be Hagrid. He could be like a wispy Wimbley, like not like big Hagrid. Be like, I can't do Daniel Radcliffe. You're a wizard, Harry.
You're a wizard, Harry.
You're a wizard. Yeah, that's better than me.
Well, okay, but then if we're casting anybody as anybody, I want Emma Watson to be McGonagall.
All right. And then Rupert Grint could be Snape.
No, Rupert Grint will be Mr. Weasley.
Oh yeah, he'll keep it in the family. He's a ginger. He's got to be a ginger. It makes nothing.
He's sense. A ginger. He's got to be a ginger. You know, it's just. It just kind of makes sense.
It's okay because none of them want to come back, so we don't have to worry about that.
No. They will have a bunch of other randos.
Exactly.
Which isn't a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to do a retelling of a story, and it's been long enough for Harry Potter that I'm actually okay with it.
Right? I mean, it's gonna be bad.
Like it'll be bad, but
don't get me wrong.
I don't mind them taking a stab at it. I'm okay with that.
So, I saw a fun little trailer for a fun little movie called Dogman, and I'm like, I
Oh yeah,
recognize
yeah,
this.
yeah.
I don't know why. Jordan, do you know what Dogman is?
Okay, so here's the thing. I don't I've never experienced or read the book or anything, but I know that it's by the guy that makes Captain Underpants.
Okay, so you did know that, yeah? Because I say, so to my
I
knowledge,
A
it's
I've seen the book in stores and I saw the name on it.
fair.
And B, I just recognized the style.
Yeah, same. Yeah, from what I understand, the story of it is it's a story in a story. So it's created by Harold and George, who created Captain Underpants. It's their latest story,
Oh,
which is why it's so
interesting.
weird, because it's created by them. And so there are people who are wondering if
Interesting.
they're gonna show up, even in like a silent cameo, if they'll show up in this movie.
That explains because I saw in the comments when in the trailer that you sent me, I saw in the comments, I saw somebody say that they should show up in a cameo either at the end, like as the basically at the ending credits, like they're closing the book and like,
Yeah,
well, we're finally done our newest book kind of thing or something like
yeah,
that.
that would be fun.
Um and I didn't get why that would be, but that makes sense now. Okay.
Yeah, and
Interesting.
it looks funny. It definitely looks funny. Like the idea that yeah, he's just like a guy with a dog's head is really kind of messed up.
What's funny about it is, and maybe this is because I watched Chicken Run recently, but it gives me real Wallace and Gromit
I
vibes.
can see why you would say that. Yeah, yeah. No, it has
And
that kind of
I mean
like
that in a good way.
it has that kind of like it's like a sane like that cop is a sane person living in an insane world kind of story, which I love.
Yeah,
I love that
yeah.
kind of love that kind of character where he's like you gotta watch the screen as if yeah as if your
Your
life
life
depended.
depend on it.
And don't get distracted by a squirrel or whatever. But no, it looks fun. It looks as good as that Captain Underpants movie, which I felt was like underrated.
Yeah, I remember enjoying that one. I
Um,
do. I
so
do.
a news story that I meant to I didn't bring up. I meant to bring up last week, which I had heard, which is not on my list. But I don't know if I didn't see if it was official, but I did see some people say that the woman who original Kid Goku voice is coming back.
I think I also saw that.
But I didn't see it on any of my official news, my news where I get my news. I only saw it on Twitter. So I was
I
like,
saw it on
oh,
Facebook.
yeah. So I'm like, I don't know how much to trust it. But if that's the case, kind of good. But also, like, I've heard her do it at conventions recently, and it doesn't quite sound the same. So I'm like, but I also don't like the current one. So like, I'm willing to like give her a shot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the current one, and so anything would be at least as good as the one I already don't like.
Yeah, true. I'm excited for it, like conceptually. Like I'm like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's my favorite Goku voice, so she's Goku,
Um, I'm interested for that series
right?
that show.
Also, speaking of Dragon Ball
Them
Z,
them them
hmm,
going to the demon realm. I saw one person in the comments say if Goku at least once in the series while in the demon realm doesn't do some sort of demon Super Saiyan transformation, they'll be disappointed. And
right?
I'm
And
like,
then you could easily explain it
eh.
away by being like, oh, it only can only happen when he's in the demon realm. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I can get behind that. It's like an
Well,
anti Super Saiyan God almost. Like I can get behind that.
that's where you remember I said once I heard that it was in the demon realm and they were kids. I remember saying for the kids part anyway that like yeah they absolutely can introduce transformations that they can only do while they're in their children's body,
Not
and that's why they can't do it in the new show.
not loving that there's somehow another dragon. Don't really love that, but also I thought it was
Well,
funny.
okay, I don't. It for me it depends on how they do it. Like if they do the thing where it's like it's a dragon of the demon realm, then okay maybe. But
Yeah. Um. Yeah,
all I know is that if they did it, I would okay. I would love it if they use it as a way to bring in the shadow dragons
I mean, that'd
and
be
have
kind of
it be
neat.
where it's like it's an evil dragon from the demon realm and that's how they like it splits off and that's how they officially bring in
That'd be pretty sweet.
the shadow dragons and stuff and Omega
Um.
and all that. then I would be okay with it. Otherwise, I would just kind of roll my eyes.
I haven't really been paying. Speaking of Dragon Ball, I've been really been paying attention to the Tenkaichi 4 or whatever, sparking whatever. But every time I see a clip from it, I'm like, this looks cool. But like every clip I've seen of it, it just kind of looks like it's a Dragon Ball simulator. You know what I mean? Where it's like I just don't see anything from a story standpoint that's really going to interest me all that much. The gameplay looks fun. Like, it does look like an improved version of Xenoverse. I really like the fact that, like, yeah, you can choose the different versions of Goku, but it looks like you can also, like, thumbstick it. Basically, like, there's a sub menu
cool.
that you can transform into whatever one you want, basically.
Okay, that's what I said.
Yeah.
That's what I said. Where I was like, if they have that as
That's
an
pretty
option,
cool.
then I'm okay with them having 18 different Gokus. Which apparently, from what I heard, yeah, it has like 15 Vegetas, 18 Gokus. Apparently, it has like a total of 200 and something characters
Yeah, it's
in there.
absurd. And like some I saw a few. They bringing back the big characters, and I'm like, oh lord. But
I'll probably end up picking it up.
I saw someone complain that one of the secret characters is Goku from Daima. I'm like, oh goody, it's third Kid Goku.
See, that
Kid
that only
Goku,
doesn't
but he can
bother
turn
me.
Super Saiyan this time.
That only doesn't. Okay, so it's GT Goku.
No, because GT Goku can only ever turn to Super Saiyan 4 in video games. He never gets to turn to Super Saiyan.
I remember in some of them, at least a couple of them, he turned into Super Saiyan 1. But I would. I'm only okay with them of them putting in Kid Daima Goku, if we get some sort of cool transformation.
I mean, that'd be cool. Or I mean, I'd like to be able to use his power pole. That's always fun.
Yeah. Well, then again, then he's just Kid Goku.
Yeah, that's true. Apparently, they also brought back Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, which is fun.
Ha. That's fun. So yeah, I mean, I'll probably end up picking that game up.
Always inevitably do. So apparently, Jordan, the Sims movie update is that the Amazon's video game adaptation will feature a lot of lore. Which, like, what
lore?
What is there a deep Sims lore that I'm unaware of? Somebody tell me. Leave a comment. Let me know. Is there like a deep, like, intricate, like, Sims lore? Is there an explanation for like what the green dot is? Like, what deep lore? Jordan, pause it. What deep lore it is while I attempt to read this article real quick.
What deep lore? Is it like about how you can befriend death and how death is an actual character? Is that the deep lore, or is it like? Because I always envisioned a Sims movie as a horror movie where they're fighting against the force of the user, and like doors disappear randomly, pool ladders disappear randomly.
Okay, so
I don't really.
This is what it says. It says Gorman said that, quote, "There will be a lot of lore in this movie," she continued. "You will see a lot of the Sims universe come to life. All right then, and you will see a lot of the classic experiences that our players have in the games come to life in the movie." And that, so yeah, so what are you gonna have a scene where it's just like the bathroom door just disappears because of a cruel Copernicus god decided that he must punish his Sims? Or are you gonna put them in a pool and make a ladder disappear while they slowly drown just to see if he can?
Or are they gonna like be standing in the middle of the kitchen and just put their plate down on the ground and annoyingly refuse to ever clean up their dishes, and their cruel god has to fight with them to do the most basic of human needs?
So it says, it continues on. It says, experiences 5 in the game, and what they really want to deliver on is an authentic Sims experience. They want to have the most expansive Sims offering they've ever had. They share the experience of playing The Sims with so many people, with their friends or family who may have not actually played The Sims. So, like, this feels like it's going to be like a They Come to the Real World movie, right? Because previously, in the article, they compared it to Barbie. So it's going to be, we've said this before, it's going to be They Come to the Real World movie. There's no way it's not.
I mean, yeah, that's the only thing you can do other than a horror movie.
And then it's going to be, they have to learn English or whatever.
Navagabwe,
and they're gonna make a joke about Sims language.
Simlees.
So that's it, Jordan. That's the news. That's the end of the news. I wasn't sure we were gonna round out 30 minutes. It felt like I stalled there. I didn't. Jordan. It gets longer every week. Welcome to the sponsorship section of the show. Today's episode, I forgot to mention at the top of the show, I always do, but today's episode is sponsored by the Final Frontier podcast. And gosh darn it, even though I get copyright struck every episode, literally, I'm going to play the trailer for it. And when we come back, we are going to talk about it. About why you should watch the Final Frontier. And go subscribe to their YouTube channel. We'll be back after the trailer. Number 2.
The Final Frontier podcast. These are the voyages of Jake Boger and Justin Spurr. Our weekly mission: to explore memories of Star Trek's strange new worlds, to recall the search for new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one has had the spare time to go before.
I think we're back. I'm not sure. The coming back takes a while, and I don't know if I hit it too late or too soon or too early. It's all new technology for us.
Would you say we're boldly going where no one has gone before?
So that's the trailer for the Final Frontier, everybody. Please head to the YouTube channel in the description, where me and my Captain Jake, because I am second in command, where we will be watching everything Star Trek ever created. And it's not all jokes about William Shatner, but a lot of it's jokes about William Shatner. And if you ever watch this show and you're like, gosh darn it, I wish that they took notes and actually paid attention more closely to the stuff they talked about sometimes. That's what the Final Frontier is for. Our first short, I think it hit almost like 800 views. The second episode's like over 100 views. It's been not quite as successful as this, but still pretty gosh darn successful. Go check that out. I'm having a pretty good time over there. That's the end of the sponsorship section. Jordan, shall we move on?
Oh my.
Oh my. So, this week, because Transformers 1 is in theaters, we have watched a bunch of Transformers stuff. Jordan took on the Transformers Michael Bay challenge. So I will ask Jordan, how do you want to do that? Do you want to go one at a time? We go thing for thing like usual, or how do you want to do this? How do you want to approach this? How do you want to tackle this monstrosity?
That's an interesting question. You have a bunch of shows.
I do.
And I have a bunch of movies that I have to complain about.
Yes.
So I guess the question that I pose to you is, do you want the good news or the bad news first?
I mean, they're all bad, Jordan. They know it. The audience knows that's what's coming. It's just about how you want to digest it.
No, I know. I think we're gonna do it where it's like you do all of yours and I do all of mine, because the rapid fires and it's gonna be different than normal. Sure. I have to talk about it as a whole.
Okay. Sure. Okay.
I guess that just really depends on whether you want to break me up or whether you want to let me complain for a solid hour.
Let's break it up so it's not you complaining for a solid hour. Let's do them in chunks.
Because believe me, I can and I will.
So
let's
start.
That might not be quite so palatable.
Let's start with the Shia LaBeouf ones. And then, because then let's begin with there's a really cool on YouTube, really cool Transformers 40th anniversary video. It's about, how long was it? Like 4 minutes long, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
It was really quite cool. It made me go, man, I know way less about this franchise than I kind of realized. There's a lot of moments in there with characters like fusing with other characters, like human characters fusing with Transformers, and like it ends with Megatron and Optimus shaking hands like they're friends, and I'm like, what? How does that happen? But it also features enough Easter eggs. Like my favorite one is when you have classic Optimus and Optimus Primal transmutation merge. The way they fuse is really cool. I was like, that was really neat.
Yeah,
like anime like.
And then they fuse it. They fuse into the one that he becomes in the later season, the big orange one.
Yeah.
Which is cool because that is basically what happens.
It is,
he
yeah.
takes his spark
I had to
into
go
him.
back and I was like, wait a second, I don't think that's ever. They never fused like that, and I was like, well, I suppose technically, right? But then it made me go like, I wonder if like that's happened in that way in like a comic book, because I know the Beast Wars has a really like not thorough, but like a really deep,
in depth,
lore in the comics, like way more than the TV show. Like in terms of like their connection to the universe and their place in it and their overall like they actually exist in the comic books for that. But I was just impressed by it. I was like, wow, there's a lot of, but I there's 2 references to the Bay
to movies, the Bays,
and I appreciate how they look slightly shittier. I was like, I like that. That's neat. That's a nice touch. My favorite,
because boy do they.
one of my favorite ones, because it was just such a subtle reference, was when it went by and it was like it showed you Waspinator and Starscream, because Starscream possesses Waspinator in an episode of Beast Wars. It's just such a subtle reference that I was like, I appreciated it. I was like, oh, that's really cool. That's the attention to detail with the references here was really cool. So yeah, it's on YouTube. It's like Transformers 40-year anniversary video or something. Totally worth checking out if you're a Transformers fan. I think that's a nice soft place to start. Jordan, let's tackle the first 3 Transformers movies. Your beginning of the journey of the... So Jordan, you began the Michael Bay Transformers Challenge. Optimistic, would you say? You were like, it's not all going to be bad.
No, I've seen these movies, Justin. I knew it was all going to be bad, but I like the first one in spite of its flaws.
I do too. I just don't. My thing with this one. My thing when I watched it this last time was like, it's worse. It's worse than I remember though. But that's because I have more ways to articulate bad movies now, I think.
It's okay, here's what I'll say. It's hard for me to separate this one from the rest of them and watch it as an individual thing.
Yeah.
So like as an individual thing, it's not strong. I don't think it's that bad, but it's not strong. It's no Transformers 1.
I would say it's
we'll get to.
I would say it's one of the top three live action Transformers movie.
Yeah.
It's number 3.
Yeah, I would agree
with that. To be clear.
Well,
we're going to definitively rank these by the end of it.
But it doesn't upset me in the way that the second and third ones do for this trilogy, if we're going to count them as a trilogy.
Yeah, no. There isn't any true other than what they do to poor Jazz. There really isn't any true bastardization.
Egregious.
Yeah, there's nothing. But also, I will say.
My biggest complaint when it comes to this one, and this is just kind of a complaint about the Bay ones in general, is the Decepticons all look the same. They look the same. They all talk in Cybertronian, which I don't really get why.
A thing that I hate that the television show part of it got from this. I hate Optimus Prime with a mouth. Can't stand it. It always looks awful.
Yeah,
it never looks good.
I especially don't like that in the first one, because on the poster they have him with the face guard. They advertise it with the face guard.
Yeah,
they want you to think that he's gonna have the face guard, and then 70% of the movie he doesn't have the face guard.
Post that movie on, it's like every off he uses the face guard and fights. I'm like, I hate that.
No, I don't like that.
I don't like that.
I get why they do it, because obviously it's easier for him to emote when he has a face.
Yeah.
But it's a choice that I don't love.
Don't love it.
I get it, but I don't love it. Also in terms of this movie, the first one, because I haven't even begun on the other 2 yet, but just in terms of this first one, I don't like the characterization of Megatron. He's too monster, not enough conniving.
You're not wrong, but also like I mean to be fair, he's just not in it enough to really be a character, which is also a detriment to that movie. But like there are versions of it that do that kind of like there's one of the shows I'm going to talk about where he is a scarier version of the way he is in this movie, and it works. That's the one thing I discovered watching the shows.
Yeah, but
that was the one thing I discovered watching the shows was, it made me kind of hate these movies less because they take stuff from the shows that like they're more faithful than you kind of realize. I guess maybe is my point.
that's fair. But my thing with this movie in particular is it. I don't think him being monstrous doesn't make him scarier. It just makes him incompetent seeming.
I mean,
Like it makes him feel stupid.
No, but not anymore. I would say he's less incompetent than he does come across as incompetent in those movies. He does. He crash landed like feet. Yeah, it makes him look. Anyway,
So that's the first one.
But stuff like the Allspark. I always assumed that the Allspark was like something that Michael Bay made up and gave, or that the writers of that movie made up and gave it a vaguely Transformer sounding name. I discovered this week that no, man, it's pretty intricately woven part of their backstory.
I mean, the thing with the Michael Bay movies that I've kind of come to discover is he gets the names of things right.
Right?
Like it very much comes across like a person who read the comics, went to Michael Bay and was like, okay, these are the things, this is what they are. And Michael Bay was like, okay, and then didn't listen.
Like, cool,
like he just
Bennett.
listened to the names, and it went like over his head.
He was like, got
so it's
it.
Like, yeah, pretty much. So it's like he's got the names of things in there, but they don't, like, the Decepticons don't look like the Decepticons.
No.
The Allspark is just a big cube, which doesn't seem like it's got the name of it, but it doesn't really seem like what it would actually be, if that makes any sense.
Kind of in the sense that, like, the Allspark in most other versions just brings Transformers to life. So, like, in the sense that, like, it brings Transformers to life, yeah, but no, it's not a cube so much. Like, they get the general idea of what it is. Like, I would say that this first one is, like...
That's kind of what I'm saying, is like he gets the idea of these things, but not the specifics.
The first one is not so bad because it's not trying to do anything from the lore. It's basically just a bigger, what it sounds like, a bigger, more expensive, louder, angrier version of the show. Like, it isn't until like the next one where, you know, let's just jump ahead to the second one, I guess, unless you have anything further you'd like to say about the first one.
No, I mean, okay, the only other thing that I will say about the first one is I like Shia LaBeouf and Megan Fox in it.
Yeah.
Like I think the human characters, removing the army,
least insufferable in this first movie. I will agree.
The army is a overbearing presence in all of these movies that is a detriment and weighs it down, and I don't like.
Weirdly, I like them more this time around than I did. Because there was a point where I was like, you know what? I would watch an entire movie where it's just a Black Ops, like, guerrilla style war movie where it's the Autobots and the army guys, and it's just those guys. Because, like, I really quite liked Lennox, and I liked I forget the character's name, but Tyrese Gibbons and all those guys. Like, by the end of the second one, I didn't totally hate them, but by the end of the third movie, I could not stand Shia LaBeouf. So, like, when they come back in the third one, I was like, oh yeah, I was actually kind of it was like when he comes back in the fifth one, I actually was like kind of like, oh yeah, I actually appreciate that this guy's come back. Like, I missed him.
So here's what I'll say. If I was going to do a movie where it was like the robots teaming up with military factions, what I would do is I would have it basically where it takes place either in the Cold War or World War II or something like that. And the Autobots land in America, and they're building.
I mean, yes, I would watch that too.
There, and then the Decepticons land in Russia, and they team up with the humans there, and then you can have it where it's like both sides are working with humans.
Yeah, true.
And it makes it a little bit more interesting in that regard.
Yeah, true. I mean, you could do a similar thing here where it's just they're working from but I do get your point. You're right. The Decepticons should also work with humans. That is a thing, like, that I discovered about, again, Transformers generally, is most versions of the Decepticons don't hate humans. Like, they don't really have an interest in, like, killing or attacking humans. It's kind of a component that's
No.
really unique to these movies. They just want Energon. That's all they want.
In
Vaguely.
most things, yeah, they just want, like, in the original Generation 1 cartoons, it was basically only when the humans got in the way that the Decepticons
Pretty
would
much.
be like, okay, like,
When they became a
like
problem.
fuck off, like, go away.
Yeah, like, they don't attack kids. Like, that's a big thing. They
Um,
don't, like, go for kids. Like, there's no like, and that's a thing we'll talk about with the Transformers is, like, strategically there's no value in it for them. Like, that's not what they want. They want
No.
Energon, which I've discovered is kind of vague. Also, we had a discussion yesterday about how do they consume Energon, and you said we kind of agreed they must eat it. I realized something today when I was watching one of the other shows I'm going to talk about later, but a lot of them don't have mouths.
I mean,
Like
you know, they
more
they
than
have,
half of them on
they-
that show alone don't have mouths.
they have gas places. They just put it in there.
Well, the one I think I do believe that Transformers, the original show, now that I'm thinking about it, I believe they say that natural resources can be converted into Energon. So I think
Yeah, that's why in the original cartoon, like in one of the episodes, Megatron attacks an electro dam,
yeah.
like it because he can convert the energy into Energon.
Well, like, yeah,
So yeah, it very much is. That's why they wanted to come to Earth, and that's why. And in these movies, I think it's supposed to be, especially the later ones, like the Bumblebee and the Beast one. I think the idea is supposed to be that's why the Autobots want to go to Earth in those ones, and they don't want the Decepticons to find it, is because they're aware that they can convert a lot of Earth's resources into Energon, and they don't want the Decepticons to go and take advantage of that.
But also, yeah, like they've never been especially. Anyway, before we move on to the second one, I've realized we'll do the back and forth thing. So I'll do my first show on my list in what is technically, I guess, a trilogy of shows. Beginning with Transformers Armada. So with these shows, we're gonna one of the angles I'm gonna kind of take at this is, does Jordan remember this show, or has he seen this show, and how is it different? That's going to be the game. What is the setup with this? Because remarkably, with the exception of these early 3 ones, they're all different. Like, there's all a different setup. There's all different circumstances, and it's really quite interesting. So Transformers Armada. Do you remember Transformers Armada? Firstly, Jordan.
I recognize the name. Is that the one where they have the little robots that
Yes.
attach to them to make them stronger?
Yes, so that's the entire. And to be fair, I didn't watch the entire series. With a lot of these, I only watched like 5 or 6 episodes, maybe sometimes 10. Something that I did finish more of it, but I didn't watch the entire series for a lot of these. Oh, and so the final question is, because for reasons that'll become apparent later, the question is also going to be, would you finish this series? So the first season is just sort of about finding minicons. It's about there's the Decepticons, there's the Autobots, and it's about finding the minicons. And then the second half of the series apparently becomes this like crazy dramatic space drama about fighting Unicron and beating Unicron. This is the point in the Transformers franchise where they decide to do this thing where the human characters are 2D animated. It's anime, and they're 2D animated. And the Transformers are 3D animated, but it's cheap, so they only have like 3 frames of animation. I think I showed you some of the later ones, but the animation just looks bad. So the parts of it that should be fun or interesting to watch is just not. And it's just yeah, you know what I mean? It's just not enjoyable to watch because it's so messy.
I'm guessing this came out in the early 2000s.
Yes, it absolutely did. Yeah. And so like it's just not very. It just didn't really. The story, the human characters didn't really grab me. The only thing that was really interesting about it is it's done by the Canadian company that does a lot of our Canadian animes. So like, you know, like the Nelvana Card Captors dub and Inuyasha. So it's got Kirby Morrow is one of the kids. One of the other kids is the guy who does Kiro Boris from Card Captors. I can't remember. There's one more voice in there that's recognizable, but it's all voices I know. So that was only part that kind of kept me engaged was like, oh, I know these voice actors. Oh, I'm enjoying this.
Yeah.
But just the gimmick of
that's cool.
It's another one of those. It's also one of those. The thing with Transformers series, a lot of these they animate one transformation sequence, and you just see it over and over and over again.
Yeah, that's how a lot of shows back then kind of saved on the budget. Digimon did the same thing. A lot of animes did the same thing.
And it just wasn't. It wasn't. I didn't find it to be terribly engaging. And I didn't find the MacGuffin of the. Also, the other thing with the minicons is, well, it was confusing because the Decepticons had a minicon and he could talk, but otherwise they all just kind of spoke in dial-up, and so it just kind of makes them not very interesting characters, not really engaging. And I kind of found, I mentioned this before, we give the Transformers movies shit for boring human characters, but a lot of Transformers shows are like that. There's a human point of view character, and when it gets overly heavy on their point of view, it becomes decidedly less interesting. And the Transformers are sort of not really primary characters on this show, so it's just not very interesting. We're gonna definitively rank both these shows and these movies by the end of today, and it's not up there for me. It's not up there. It's not my favorite. We're gonna get to my favorite. That's it. That's Transformers Armada. It's the first one of these shows. Technically, I don't think they'll. Anyway, we'll get there. What second Transformers movie, Jordan?
Second Transformers.
How are you feeling after second Transformers movie now, Jordan? You're 2 movies into the challenge. Are you aware that this is going to be a long challenge now? How are you feeling about the challenge itself?
I already knew that it was going to be a hard, long fought battle, which it was. I have always hated the second one because of what they did to the Constructicons. The Constructicons were always my favorite Transformers. It was 5 when you had the toy, you had 5 Transformers which could all individually transform, which combined into a bigger Transformer, and it was cool and it was badass, and that's not what this one was.
Well, that was my thing with
was not cool or badass.
Apparently that you can look up, there's behind the scenes footage of how they made it, and it's an impressive feat of CGI puppetry. But like my thing with the Transformers is you generally believe that like they can turn, especially in a lot of these animated shows, like that they can turn into the thing they're supposed to be able to turn into. And that's the thing with them in these movies. I just don't believe that that's 5 construction vehicles combined into one thing. It's just not as a design. No. It doesn't work. And it's also less interesting than it being a big man or woman, I guess.
Well, it being a big humanoid. It's supposed to be smart too. Yeah. Like that's the thing. Like dumber compared to like some of the Decepticons, sure, but like still person level intelligence.
Yeah.
This thing is just a gigantic beast that has swinging balls. And then that's the other thing. So the first one might have
joke.
The first one might have might have some plot holes or like some weaker story elements, things that I don't love. But it doesn't have blatantly offensive jokes.
Right.
Could you say that the joke where Bumblebee pees on Sector 7 guy, is that a dumb joke? Yeah, sure. It's a dumb joke. It's a really dumb joke. But it doesn't hit the same level of offensive stupidness as the 2 twins.
Oh, yeah, the twins. That's one of those, like, what were you thinking?
As the RC car, which humps Megan Fox's leg. As the Constructicons, which aren't Constructicons, who have 2 swinging balls that get targeted by the missile system.
Big ol' set of robot testicles.
So many jokes, which I can't even say they're jokes because jokes aren't, like, they have to be funny.
Yeah, they prerequisite of being funny.
So many things in there that I'm like, as I'm watching this movie, I'm like, this was a choice. This was a choice that would have had like screen testers that watched this movie, that it would have had to like please.
I mean, it had to get past writing. Someone wrote down, we're looking at the soft spot of the creature, and thought that was funny.
Like there's so many things in this movie that just make me go like, I don't understand how this got made.
Right? Is this the one where he makes out with the transformer? And then this is kind of the point where literally anything
with the
can
robot girl.
Yeah, where literally anything can be a transformer.
Yeah, like it's this hot girl who ends up being the Decepticon, and Megan Fox walks in on her kissing
It's
him,
like kissing
and
Diesel. It's
like
like
that's the other
Diesel.
thing is this entire movie. It's like there's this whole like, oh, he's going away to college, and like she wants to leave him, and he doesn't want her to leave him, and like they're so in love at the end of it, and she said that she loves him, and like and then he says that he loves her, and she's like, oh, you finally said it, and he's like, yeah, because you said it first, and it's like this whole like stupid plot
Yeah,
line.
I remember that conflict is dumb and stupid. Kind of feels like
so
irrelevant now, Sam. Who
At the end of
cares?
it, they're so in love, like it's so in love. And this movie is bad, man. Like this movie is bad, make no mistake. And I hate it. I hate it on a deeply personal level because they ruined like my favorite Transformer, which is especially frustrating when you get to the night movie. When you end up having Megatron gets like his 7 Decepticons out of jail and they combine into the giant robot that walks in as a man, and it's like, why couldn't you do that for the Constructicons?
We'll get there. We'll get to the fifth one. Is that it, Jordan? Is that all you have to say about the second one?
Yeah, it's so in summary, it used to be I used to say it was the worst one
Then I saw
because
the
of what
fifth
they
one.
did to the Constructicons. Um see, we'll get there, but I none of them upset me as much as the third one did. Even the fifth one. That
Yeah.
one was bad. The fifth one's bad because it's not a Transformers
We'll
movie
get
that just
there.
has Transformers
We'll
slapped
get
into
there.
it,
We'll get
but
there. We'll get there. We'll get there.
the third one it just upset me.
We'll get there. That's it for the second one.
It just upset me. Yeah, there's really what else can you say? It's a bad movie, Justin.
Bad movie. Moving on. So my second.
Although I will say the whole Matrix of Leadership thing was also stupid.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, the Matrix. Oh yeah. Now we'll get that. So we'll get there later. There's an interesting fact about that movie that I'm going to bring back that will surprise you. We didn't even talk about the Fallen. Apparently, there's an actual other leader of the Decepticons. It's not actually Megatron.
Yeah, you know the fact how they build Megatron up to be this badass leader of the Decepticons the entire first movie, just to find out that he's the Fallen's bitch in the second one.
Or,
yeah, no, that's fun.
My two favorite scenes is where they just drop Optimus onto the tarmac like he's just a sack of potatoes. Like no one gives a fuck. Like, poof, wow, that was respectful. He was your ally.
Yeah.
And then the other bit is after Jetfly gives him his parts. After he beats the Fallen, he just shrugs them off like they're nothing. Like he did this noble sacrifice. Well, he's like, fuck you now.
See, the thing is though, is I think that he kind of absorbs it into himself, because then in the third one he has the trailer, which has all those parts in it.
That is true. Yeah, there's a really funny bit.
So I think
we'll talk about the third one.
I think the idea is supposed to be that like he absorbed it into himself, and then,
all right,
all right, he didn't need those actual parts.
So my second series, I came into it. And boy, howdy, it's very much a sequel series to the previous one. So this series now takes place 10 years after the end of the previous series. They have beat Megatron, and the Autobots and the Decepticons fight has officially been dissolved, and Megatron has disappeared, and now they are forced to work together. So the Autobots and the Decepticons now work together, and they're basically is a worldwide federation that the Autobots sort of work for, and there's a faction of scientists that live and work on Cybertron. And the inciting incident of the show is a Quintesson who has gone mad and is currently living in the dead husk of Unicron. Sends the bad guys in the last live action Transformers movie.
Yeah, the what's his name?
Terracons Terracons, that's what it is.
Yeah, that
They send basically them after the Autobots and Decepticons in order to bring back Unicron. And I didn't watch much of the show. I only watched 5 episodes, and it was okay. It was a really frustrating show because the humans look cool. Like the previous show, I forgot to mention. The humans are it's a badly animated show. It's super cheap looking. Like the human characters look like they're off model more often than they're not, and then they're on model, and it was so cheap looking. This show, all the Transformers, that's the one I showed you where the transformation sequence is missing a frame of animation. Remember, I was like, oh, look at them transform. It's got like that's not okay. That's the one. It's so cheap. Like the characters can barely move. None of the fight sequences look good. Like the human characters, when they get to do stuff, like one of them like rides a motorcycle and he has some fun sequences, but it doesn't look very good. The thing that's sort of interesting about this one though is Optimus is more tactically minded, so he talks to people a lot more directly and like short. He's very short. Like he's way rougher and like more direct than even the Michael Bay version. And the other thing with these shows is they're even more over designed than the Michael Bay version. Which is incredible.
I thought that was possible.
I know. They're like twice the size. Like they look really like they've got like 1,000 parts and none of it looks good because the animation's not good enough to make them look interesting. Also, a thing I discovered about this show, about these shows that started to drive me crazy, was like every time a character moves, it makes a robot like a robot sound. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like they like it makes like a crushing sound to illustrate that they're heavy, and it gets really tiresome. It's like I get it, they're robots. Like Beast Machines or Beast Wars didn't feel the need to give them robot sounds because you just understood that they were robots. Like you didn't need it spoon fed, and it makes it like annoying to listen to these characters move. Like every time they move, it makes an annoying robot sound. But overall, yeah, it was very dry. I'm like, this looks like it probably gets good later, but the opening bits of it was like, just wasn't super engaging off the bat. I will admit, I was intrigued to finish Energon. Have you heard of Transformers Energon, first of all?
I don't think so.
So you've definitely never seen it. We can say that much for sure.
Probably not. Maybe I've seen like commercials or stuff, but
I feel like it's one of those ones you've seen it and you went, that looks bad, and then you never watched another episode.
I could absolutely believe that.
But no, I didn't really have an interest in finishing it. I was kind of interested in finishing Transformers, the previous one, because I know that one guy gets really like dark in the second half. So I was curious about that. But just based on the animation, I'm like, I don't think I could finish this. That is Transformers Energon. Jordan, third Transformers movie.
Yeah, this is when it got really bad. Which is like saying something because the last one got really bad.
Yeah.
But
I dislike this.
But one. I think this is when it started to really weigh on me though. Because at this point we've had 3 movies of Optimus Prime being not really Optimus Prime. Very aggressive and angry and just not really Optimus Prime. This is also the one where Megan Fox didn't come back, and which makes all that, oh, I'm so in love with you, oh, yeah, we're gonna be together forever bullshit from the last one just kind of irritating. I don't like the choice of girlfriend that replaces Megan Fox. I personally think she's a much more boring character in this one, and she just kind of falls into the damsel in distress.
Yeah.
Way too much.
Yeah, she's not as good as Michaela. Michaela's much more interesting. But also she was supposed to straight up be Michaela, to be fair. All the stuff that she gets in that movie was supposed to go to her. Because it was supposed to be the realization of like she came from the streets and she's a street person, and now she's living and working in high society. So it's supposed to be like, oh, she's grown up and become grown up, and Shia LaBeouf is still like a child. Maybe, I guess. I honestly don't know.
My my thing with that is that in terms of like the what we got in this movie, which is the smarmy business guy who is very obviously trying to steal Shia LaBeouf's girlfriend, that doesn't work with Michaela. Like, I don't believe that the character of Michaela
I mean, Jordan,
would
Jordan,
be stupid enough to
Jordan,
fall for that.
Jordan, it was gonna be a bad movie no matter who was in it.
Sure, but I'm just looking at like the characterization of what you're saying.
Yeah,
That character,
sure, it would have
that
happened,
girlfriend
and it wouldn't have
character was
made any
supposed to
sense,
be
and it would have
her.
been bad.
It just, yeah, it doesn't work. But I don't like storylines, plot lines, thread lines in any movie where the super hot model girlfriend is with the smarmy boss who definitely wants to sleep with her / steal her, and she's naive and like doesn't get. No, that doesn't work
I mean,
for
to
me.
be fair,
Nobody is that stupid.
To be fair, in this one,
Nobody believes that their boss buys them like 100,000 something really super expensive car
to be fair,
just for the sake of it.
To this movie, it was because he was working for the Decepticons, and it was to get close to Sam. But I get your point.
Yeah, okay, but until they reveal that in terms of the movie, until they reveal that in the movie, as far as the movie is concerned, that's not what it is, and it is supposed to be that he's just trying to steal the girlfriend, and so like the girlfriend should have had 1,000 red flags that went up if she was a loyal girlfriend, and this movie just wants you to believe
the things that are wrong with this movie. That's like probably in like the bottom like. There's a bunch of other things that are way like.
I respectfully disagree. I think it way too much of this movie, considering that it has 17 different endings. You could have cut all of that. Is my point. I mean,
yes, but of the things you could have cut, it's definitely like the least. I think the character assassination of Optimus Prime is way worse.
I mean, you're not wrong, but that at least fits. That at least fits with what they go with in the movie. His sense of betrayal from Sentinel Prime. We're jumping the gun here. Hold on. Let's roll back. So in this movie, they rescue an Autobot, and I don't mind the idea of an evil Autobot.
Yeah, that's the thing with these movies.
He ends up going evil.
That's the thing with these movies is like, no, they don't have inherently bad ideas. Like, no, the concept and idea of an evil Autobot, and he's the only bad guy, and Megatron doesn't come back, that works for me. It's the fact, too many things. I said that the last time we did this. Too many things. It's too many things.
Yeah.
Also, like, every movie further along we get from the first one, the government's participation stops making sense.
Well, it just gets agitating.
Like, wait, so they did know that the Transformers existed in the 1960s? So then how come they had no idea what they were in the first movie? It makes no sense.
Well, that's where it kind of, like, what they want you to think is that the regular military had no idea, but the special Sector 7 special parts of the government, they knew, but then later on, it's like, they kind of drop the ball on that because then they just have regular military guys working with them, and it's like, see, okay, if you had it where it's like the Men in Black people were the ones that knew, the Sector 7, whatever, they were the ones that knew, and the regular military, okay, then it works. But no, you shot yourself in the foot and had it where the regular military knew for years, and now it doesn't make any sense.
Now it makes no sense.
But so yeah, the idea of there being an evil Autobot isn't inherently, or an evil isn't even the right word. Conniving, willing to do whatever it takes for his race to survive. Because depending on your point of view, he's not evil.
Like, you have it where he comes in, he shows up, he works with the government, and then, big third act twist, he's the bad guy, no Megatron. Boom, done. Easy. One thing. Better movie. More focused. You still have your annoying third act in the big city fight.
it needs to be shorter.
Yes, it would also make
too,
it shorter.
because it's way too long.
All these movies are way too long.
And then there's the but see, this is the one issue which it doesn't bother me in this movie, because it bothers. Okay, what you say as the character assassination of Optimus in this movie only bothers me because he was already an asshole in the previous two movies.
Yes.
If he had been normal Optimus in those movies, was nice, friendly, was the Optimus that he was in the at the end of the Beast one, if he had been that Optimus throughout these movies, and then throughout this movie, the point of it is like he's too soft and he needs to learn to be a little harder, and that's when he does whatever it takes to stop Sentinel Prime, then it
Sure,
would
but
bother
still
me
not
less.
Optimus. It wouldn't be Optimus. Call it, give him a
Yes,
different.
it would, because it absolutely would, because as I've seen in the cartoon that I watched there, he's perfectly willing to kill enemies.
Sure, but not execute them, not publicly execute them. There's a difference, but the version in the show we're going to talk about. There's a difference between.
In terms of this movie, it wasn't a public execution. He was fighting him and he defeated him.
He shot him in the back of the head while he
He
begged
did-
for his life.
he
That's an execution,
He
man.
did what he had to do to save the planet Earth, because otherwise, no, it wouldn't have survived.
Yeah, but again,
So in terms of that movie,
he could have captured him. He could have subdued him.
in terms of that movie, it doesn't. That one thing isn't one of the things that bothers me.
No, it has. Optimus would
There's-
never
there's-
execute. It's awful.
There's
It's what
so
makes that
many.
movie bad.
There's so many other things in this movie to hate. Like, there's so many other things in this movie to hate.
Yeah, blatant character assassination is one of the more important ones.
But it's not. It's not.
It is. It blatantly character assassinates Optimus generally.
Especially because if you want to say that there's blatant character assassination for the character of Optimus Prime, you have to go right back to the first one. Because
these movies generally character assassinate him.
Right from the first one, he's not Optimus Prime.
No.
So in terms of the character that existed in this movie,
Bumblebee.
if in terms of the characterization that they gave Optimus Prime in these movies, this movie is not a character assassination.
Yeah,
it's right in line with his character.
It can be consistent with the character, but it's still a blatant character assassination of Optimus Prime himself, which it absolutely is.
But my point is that if you're gonna get that butthurt about that, you have to get butthurt about that from the beginning.
I am. I'm saying it's this whole franchise is a blatant character assassination.
But you weren't for years. You only got upset once we got to the third one.
I mean, well, yes, but again, it's all part of the character. That's the culmination of the character assassination.
That was the one that you harped on.
Yeah,
it doesn't bother me because the character that they have set up and established for these movies, it's right in line with his famous catchphrase of "I'm gonna kill you."
I mean, you're right. It does line up with that with his iconic catchphrase, "I'm gonna murder them all and punish them for their transgressions."
Like,
I'm paraphrasing it
with that character.
But isn't it funny though? Isn't it funny? We're on the third one. Isn't it funny? Just you don't notice how much he says that until someone points it out to you. Once someone points out to you how much he threatens to kill people in that movie, you're like,
it a lot.
He says it so. You know what, editor Justin? When you eventually make this into a video, can you try to do a montage of all the times he says "I'll kill you" in these movies? Thanks. Wasn't that just so much? He says it so much.
He says it a lot.
A lot. Just so much. George,
so there's a lot to say about this movie, and I feel like it's been a bit, and I don't remember every single thing that upset me. There's a lot. I feel like there was other characters in here that I hate the interpretation. I still I think
Soundwave in there. He's doing the voice.
I think Soundwave was one of the ones I hated.
Is this the one where he's a satellite?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the one where I was like, I didn't mind the satellite because I was like, you know what? obviously tape decks don't exist, and they already did the boombox one. So I'm like, what else are you gonna do for Soundwave? I don't hate the idea of him as a satellite. I like it more than him as a car, because once he's a car, the voice modulation thing stops making any version of him that's not a tape deck. The voice modulation thing just stops making sense.
Yeah, there's like I said, there's a lot in this movie that upsets
The
me.
fact that it just becomes an episode of The Office with random characters that no one gives a shit about for no reason.
I just
That's
yeah.
right? Yeah. I didn't.
Again,
I didn't mind the
these-
concept of like the Decepticons are working with the government as a part of a government conspiracy. Like that again, not an uninteresting idea for a Transformers movie. It's just executed badly. It's like someone writing this has like 5 or 6 ideas and can't decide on one of them. Pick one idea and really work on it.
Which it's proven that
No,
works,
don't jump ahead. We're gonna get there.
once we get into the future, it's proven that it works.
Yeah, we have to hit some speed bumps. So that's the Transformers first trilogy. Let's do a count-in, Jordan. So do you believe, now that we've hit the end of the original trilogy, did you feel a distinct difference between the first trilogy and the two-thirds of the second trilogy? Because we didn't get the second trilogy ultimately. Like, is there a through line? Is there an arc? Like, would you say that it's like a trilogy? Would you call it a trilogy? Like, is it a compact trilogy?
Those first 3 are definitely a trilogy. It's Sam's trilogy. It follows his story. And that's kind of my issue with these Transformers movies. They're kind of more about the humans than they are the Transformers.
Yeah, true. It's a problem.
Which that falls into the next, not trilogy, but duo of movies.
So
but,
let's do a midway ranking. What is number 1 best Transformers movie so far?
Number 1.
What is the second? Does it just rank in from best to
best to worst is 1, 2, 3.
Okay, fair enough.
Although 2 and 3 are close. And it would also depend on if you're asking me for my personal opinion or what I objectively, without my personal feelings of characters, think are the worst.
Well, for the first 3, do both. What do you think objectively is the worst one? Does it still go? I think it goes 1, 2, 3, no matter how you swing it. Because I think the third one's worse than the second one.
The third one is objectively the worst one. My least favorite one is still the second one, because I hate what they do to the Constructicons.
Yeah, I think
like that's personal for me. That's my favorite Transformer.
Yeah, no, these movies. Well, no, to be fair, I like the fourth one better than the third one the first time I saw it. I actually quite like the fourth one the first time I saw it. So we'll get there.
We'll get there.
So my last in this, so they say it's a trilogy. I don't know how it is. It doesn't really seem to connect to it. But that's the one I showed you the opening of when you got home from work yesterday. The one that you're like, wow, that looks cheap. Like, it looks like PlayStation 1 level quality of animation.
Oh, yeah. No. Worse than PlayStation 1.
It was incredible. We're going to get to Beast Machines later, but it's incredible how, even though it came out after Beast Machines, it somehow looks worse. It has like 3 frames of animation. None of the Transformers look good. They're once again, like, you saw what they looked like. Would you say they're over-designed?
I mean, yeah.
They're once again more over-designed than the Bay ones. The Bay ones are already over-designed.
Certainly as over-designed as the Bay ones.
At the very least, yeah. And this one is basically you're like, oh, how come there's 2 primes? I can't remember, Vector Prime, because they run into Vector. Basically, they show up on Earth, or they all the Transformers have to evacuate Cybertron, and they go through a space bridge, and they wind up on Earth. They crash land on Earth whilst in a conflict with the Decepticons, who also look like shit, by the way. One thing I forgot to mention is all of these shows, they all have the voice actor of in Beast Wars?
Yeah.
Optimus Prime and Megatron are the same voices for all of these.
Oh, well, that's cool.
And what's interesting is, depending on the season, he's playing them differently, and it's kind of interesting. So in Energon, he's got the Megatron voice, but it's not silly. He's not doing like yes like that. He's not doing any of that. But it's the same with Optimus. He's more tactical, more serious, more direct. Like he's less gentle and like sympathetic than he is in Beast Wars. Like the voice is the same, but the characterization is different for each of these. It's really quite interesting.
Interesting.
But the big thing with this is like they've got like again 3 transformation sequences. They've spent the time animating it, and they're the ones that look the best. And Optimus has he's got like a super transformation where he takes his trailer and he becomes gigantic. And yeah, the premise of it is they're looking for Cybertron keys that will merge together and become the Allspark. And whoever has the Allspark will basically rule the Transformers or whatever. They can basically stop this black hole that's consuming Cybertron. And every time they use a key, it gives them a power-up. And the thing was, I guess the company that made Transformers Energon promised the English dubbing company a third series. Instead, they gave them this. And in Japanese, it has no connection to the previous seasons. So they've just added some dialogue in there to like briefly connect it, but it otherwise doesn't really have a connection. It's probably I'm gonna say stuff like Transformers Beast Machines is the worst Transformers series, but like I think it's this simply because of how shitty it looked. Like it looked like shit. It just was bad. You've never seen it other than what I showed you the other day. You've never watched it. I guarantee you would have never heard of it. I'm never gonna finish it because it looked like trash, and also. It does that confusing thing of the story arc I had entered was like they were on a planet and there's this random other robot. My thing with the Transformers universe, I think you've asked this question before, like what is the difference between like they're on this planet where they're trying to infiltrate this race, and like there's the Autobots and the Decepticons, and then there's this racer who's neither, but she can transform and she's also a robot. So like what is she? Is she just a transformer? Like, I've never understood, like, what exactly is Transformers the species itself?
Well, that's where that's where it's interesting because in the we're jumping the shark a little bit. Like in the cartoon that I was watching, the Autobots are a race, the Decepticons are a race. So I suppose in terms of the universe, she would just be a different race,
right? But then in other versions, the Decepticons, which we're also going to talk about, and the Autobots are just a faction. Like they're just
they're Cybertronians.
Yeah, no, that's just it. Because there are Cybertronians who live on Cybertron who they're like in the sense that like technically speaking, which will make sense later on, a deer is an Earthling, right? Where it's like so the Transformers is its own species of Cybertronian, right? So that's where I'm like Cybertronian is not the species, it's what they are, it's the planet they're from. And even then, depending on the continuity of Transformers, Cybertron isn't like an indigenous planet, like they come from somewhere else. They're created by, in a lot of cases, Quintesson. So like their backstory has always been kind of exactly what the nature of what they are has always been kind of confusing to me. But I'm gonna rank mine. Now, to be fair, I didn't watch every single Transformers show, so this isn't a definitive ranking of all Transformers shows. This is just the definitive ranking of the Transformers shows I watched from best to worst. And so far, it's the same as Jordan. It's descending quality. It's Armada is the best one. Energon's second best. Cybertron's probably going to end up being the worst one overall. But I've got two more, just like you do. So. One I have less to say than the other.
4 more.
No, yeah, but I'm gonna bifurcate them by so this is the trilogy, the 2 off ones that aren't really a trilogy, and then I've got them split into half scenes, but then they're the last 2. The one that's actually good, the best one of the bunch, and the one that's like I thought it wasn't that good. But compare it to Cybertron, it's actually probably not that bad. Which is sort of your trajectory on the Michael Bay movies, where you're like, the third one's the worst one, and the fifth one is probably also bad, but like it's just not as bad as the third one in your opinion.
Yeah, yeah,
But like technically, it's
yeah.
probably the worst one.
It's bad for a different reason, is what I'll say.
Yeah. So Jordan, the fourth Transformers movie. So now, Jordan, I'm going to ask you some questions
Yeah.
about how you feeling about Cade Yeager compared to Sam.
Mm. Now that depends. Are we
It's more
talking?
interesting than talking about the plot
Are
of this
we?
thing,
Are
because who
we?
gives a shit?
Are Are we talking comparing the first appearance of Kate Yeager and the first appearance of Sam, or Sam as he exists across all three movies versus Kate Yeager how he exists across
I
the
want to do
two?
both. So you want to do the second one after we talk about when we get to the fifth one? Because I'd like to do both.
Yeah,
So let's just do
yeah.
it just solely based on
So
first appearance.
off of first appearances, I have to give it to Sam.
Same, right? Cade Yeager sucks. He just sucks.
Um, I just generally the age that Shia LaBeouf is in that first movie, he's still kind of just fresh out of that Even Stevens kind of fame,
Yeah.
and I grew up with Even Stevens, so I have a love for Shia LaBeouf as an actor, even though he's not necessarily the greatest actor.
Also, like
Um,
as a character in that first movie, his entrance is
he's
believable.
just also yeah,
He
it's
enters as a person who's
believable.
like,
It's believable, and he's just quite frankly more likable of a character.
yeah, absolutely. Like, certainly in that first one, yeah, where
In
like
that first
Cade
in
Yeager
that
comes
first
in.
one.
Yeah, Cade Yeager comes in and he just assumes he knows everything and it's like thinks he's the greatest guy on God's green earth. My
Yeah.
favorite bit is how he's like, I'm an inventor, even though all of his inventions are useless and wouldn't help any. One of my favorite lines is like,
They're
think
just
of they're just slightly
he
better
invents
versions. Yeah,
garbage.
he invents garbage. Yeah, my favorite bit is when he's like, think of how I could apply this to my inventions. How, Cade Yeager? How on earth would you
How,
apply this to
how are
any of your
you?
shitty inventions?
How are you going to? It's not that I don't believe that someone could.
Right?
I don't believe that.
How are
I don't
you
see. Here's the
specifically,
thing.
Cade Yeager, going to do this?
I don't I don't know how to say this nicely, but
So I'm
I
not.
don't I don't I don't I don't buy Mark Wahlberg as a highly smart, intelligent character.
No, neither do I. It's
I
funny
just
when I talked about
I
the
just
happening. I was
don't.
like, it's weird that this happened twice. No, neither do I. It's
Like
absurd.
I I believe that he could be the character that what's his name? TJ Miller. I
Right.
believe he could be the character that TJ Miller played, and you have maybe a okay, who would work better? Um Someone that I actually believe could be intelligent. Pedro Pascal,
Yeah, I
maybe.
guess, yeah. Or like, he doesn't need to
Um,
be an inventor. Just make it where he runs a farm and T.J. Miller works for him. Or he's like have him be like, you
or
remember that show American Pickers?
or or I mean, quite frankly, I buy Mark Wahlberg as a mechanic,
Yeah, okay, a
a
mechanic.
mechanic
Yeah, who's fixing up a
who comes
truck.
across a truck and
Because
fixes a truck.
I get
Like,
it. I get it. I totally get that you need the narrative excuse of him finding Optimus Prime, right? That's why he's an inventor. It's like the stupidest reason you could possibly come to as to why he's an inventor. But okay, that's why he's an inventor. But yeah, you're right. Even a mechanic where he picked up this truck he's gonna fix
or
up. And TJ
or
Miller's his
or
assistant. It makes 1,000 times more sense. Now that you said that, that's like
or
blows my mind
hell
a little bit.
or hell, he could have run a junkyard, and
Yeah.
he was about to destroy Optimus, and as he's about to destroy Optimus, Optimus just comes to life.
I mean, they end up going that direction in the fifth one anyway. He's working in a junkyard, so it just kind of makes sense. And even it's
Yeah.
just not to jump ahead to the fifth one, but it's even funny in the fifth one when they try to bring. I'm an inventor. What have you invented, Cade Yeager? Name one thing. Name one thing. I think she even says that. Like, say one thing you invented, Cade Yeager. But I will give you though, he does have. I think by the third one, I was so done with Shia LaBeouf, I was just excited to see something different.
That's where I say I don't. Yeah, he's not a great dad, and he's kind of an asshole of a character. But yeah, it was refreshing. Like
Right?
it was
He's
refreshing
also got some
to have
funny. There are
something
some.
different.
And to be fair, I don't know how. I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt and assume they're intentional. But there's some funny one-liners in that movie. My favorite is always gonna be when he crashes the spaceship into the guy's car. And he's like, "Where's your insurance? Like, you want to see my insurance? You want to see my insurance?" And he cracks the Bud Light and chugs it. Honey, get my space gun. That makes me laugh every time. That's one of my favorites every single time.
It's a stupid line, but
also I love
it's one of those things where
always loving a bit of the tooch, love some of the tooch. Stanley Tucci.
The tooch.
Stanley Tucci. He's the guy with glasses.
Who?
He goes, "Oh my god!" That guy. He created the
Okay.
He created the human Transformers.
Oh, him. Okay, yeah.
The tooch.
Right. That's that's the other thing. I don't mind the idea of the human-made Transformers, but I don't. One of the biggest things that irritates me in this movie is the whole aspect of the Autobots being hunted, and
I don't like that either. Yeah.
I hate that entire plot thread. That being said, one of the opening scenes where they're hunting down Ratchet, I think it is. The one that's the ambulance.
Yeah.
And he's like, they've blown his leg off, and he's like pleading for his life, and he's like, "We're your allies, like we're your friends." It's genuinely upsetting. I will give them credit for that.
I will say, yeah, I've said this before. Too many things. Like the idea of like human arrogance, like okay, who's the bad guy of each one, and the third one, the bad guys are now the humans. Because, like, that is very much a thing that happens in Transformers, where there are human bad guys in that series. Like, I think you watched one of the episodes where it was, or maybe I did by myself, but I watched because we watched it, we understood it to be the sequel to Transformers, but it's just the next season. But one of the episodes in the next season is the humans create, like, this rage virus that makes Transformers evil. And they want to destroy all the Transformers because they like had family who like died or got injured as a consequence of like Transformers fighting. So like they do exist, and the concept of humans creating Transformers do exist in the Transformers universe. So that's not an inherently absurd idea. It's just the way it's always the way it's executed. But to have it where like you think have it where it looks like we're gonna talk about him later, but have it where he looks like Scourge from that 2001, like where he looks like Optimus. And the movie is basically them helping humans. And then the third act, you find out that, oh shit, they've actually been Decepticons the whole time. And then they fight them, and then they all fight in the final fight. And then, then Bumblebee fights the one that's Bumblebee, whatever. And that's the final conflict.
Yeah.
Simple. Don't do the third act, it goes to China. I mean, I know why they did the third act, it goes to China. But it makes that movie too much.
So
chop 30 minutes off of that movie.
So this is where I want to, okay. There's always a few things in these Michael Bay movies which make me go like, why?
What were you
like
thinking?
This was a choice that you chose to make. Why did you do this? And the biggest, most egregious one in this one is the fact that they literally take the time to justify why the 20-year-old can be dating the 17-year-old.
It's not even...
and the Romeo and Juliet law and stuff. And let me finish. I need to get this out uninterrupted. It's so unnecessarily stupid because they could have easily just been like, he's a guy that I know from school. He wants to grow up and be a driver, and he could have been like 18. So like, there's no reason for him to be 20. There's no reason.
It's not even that he knows the subsequent legal statute. It's not even that he's aware of it.
He has it on a laminated
It's
card.
not even that he has it on a card that he keeps in his pocket. It's the fact that the card is fucking laminated
in his wallet.
He knew
he keeps it in his wallet.
He knew that this was going to be enough of a question enough times that he needed to have it. I've heard a theory that like somebody in the producer like that had to be a personal anecdote that happened to somebody. It's way too specific of a piece of information to just know offhand. It's weird and specific.
It doesn't add anything to the movie.
I will never not bring it up. I will never not bring it up because it is somehow the worst thing in that movie. Incredibly.
It is. It really is. Now that being said, the other thing that I would have changed is the the human-made Transformer Galvatron. I wouldn't have made it Galvatron. I wouldn't have made it Megatron in any way. I would have literally had it be where it was their version of um Nemesis or Scourge or whatever, like evil Optimus. Like
Yeah,
straight up, it's evil Optimus. It's not Megatron in the body of it.
exactly.
None of that. Like it is literally they have made like when he's in robot form, he doesn't look like Megatron or Galvatron. He looks like Optimus. He turns into the truck.
Yeah,
He
exactly.
is an evil Optimus. That's what I would have done. I wouldn't have had the
Well,
alien
the whole
bounty hunter trying to come
no,
in.
the
I wouldn't
whole
have had the
thing.
alien bounty hunter. Let me finish. I wouldn't have had the alien bounty hunter coming in and trying to get Optimus. Cut
No,
all that.
no.
Literally just have it be evil Optimus is teaming up with humans.
Get rid of Kelsey Grammer. It's the bad guy is just Stanley Tucci, and have it where he's created an evil Optimus, and it's all the team of the new Autobots, and they're all made by humans, and then have that the bit about we don't need you anymore. We have these guys now, and then have it where they're working with the humans the whole time, and then the third act twist is that they've been evil the whole time, and then they fight the Autobots. And they do a big punch at the end, and the movie ends. Because these movies don't have them fight a big thing. It always just has them fight other robots. So, just have them fight each other in the third act. The Autobots win. Everyone goes home happy. George, do you have anything else to say about the fourth one?
To me, yeah, that would have made this a much stronger movie. The only other thing that I have to say is, and I know you disagree with this. I'm just interested to see how much of the audience agrees or disagrees. Is I don't hate what they did with the Dinobots.
No, hate it. Hate.
I don't hate it. Do I wish they had been a little more articulate and talked a little more sure? But it's so much not as bad as what they did with the Constructicons that by comparison,
No,
I mean they're just dinosaurs.
It's I mean, apart from the testicle joke, probably just as bad.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
So anyway, is that it? Is that on the fourth one?
I mean, that's the broad strokes.
So my next one, this is where stuff started to get interesting for me. So this is Transformers. I have the wrong date. This is Transformers the Animated Series 2007, I believe. I have 2001, but that's not right. 2007, and because you'll know which one I'm talking about. I'm trying to think of how I can do this. Do you have the stream open right now?
Yeah.
We're going to take a chance. We're going to go over to this website. We're going to open it up.
I mean, I could just Google it.
No, it's okay. Hold on. No, shit.
Although this is as fun a time as any to do experimentation.
Series. This one. Can you see that on the stream?
I see you Googling something.
Give it a second to catch up. Give it a second.
I think I know. I think I know which one you're talking about. Yeah, the one that I could never get past the animation.
Yeah, okay. So
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I fully get I fully get that. Not a fan of the art style. Don't love the art style. But this is where it gets interesting. It's
the one that when the other day when we were talking about Transformers, I said that it gives me real Spectacular Spider-Man.
I could see why you would say that. I don't
Style.
know. I don't know if he made it, but it's the guy who made Teen Titans, the
Oh, okay.
not Teen Titans
Interesting.
Go, but the other one, and he also did DuckTales, the DuckTales reboot. And basically,
Interesting.
this one's different. This one takes place several hundred years after the Decepticons and Autobots have finished fighting. So it's implied that this Optimus, I didn't get far enough into it to really get exactly where, but because the show opens with Optimus literally watching footage from the original show. So I don't know, and it's implied that this is the
Interesting.
original Megatron from the '80s show, but it's not clear as to if this is, or to be fair, I didn't get far enough into it. Someone who is really into that show, maybe let me know in the comments. But it's unclear as to if he's the original Mega or he's the original Optimus. Because
Optimus?
yeah, because Ratchet is in the show, but he is original Ratchet from the original Autobot army from the original show. But he's like beaten and old and weary, and the whole thing is they're essentially like a cleanup crew, and they accidentally find the Allspark. And they run into Megatron, who has been spent like 500 years searching for the Allspark and is like all beaten down and all. That's where I'm like, that one has scary Megatron where he's like sinister and whatnot, and that really works. He's truly a frightening, he's a frightening kind of presence. He's twice the size of all of the other Autobots, and he's like really scary, and it's really effective. And they find the Allspark, and they get attacked by Megatron, and they wind up crashing on Earth, and they go into stasis. And the status quo of the show is they eventually wake up, like, and it's 100 years in the future, and humanity has like now advanced, and they have like robots and stuff that like work for them, and so they have robotic cars, and it's all made by one guy. And the human character is voiced by Tara Strong, so she's effectively just Timmy. And she also plays another little boy character, and she's effectively just Timmy. And she has a Cybertronian key that can kind of do whatever. And thus far, the only Decepticons that have really been in it.
So she has a magic wand.
Kinda, yeah. And so the only characters that were really in it was Starscream, because Megatron, he disappears. And he's taken out by Starscream, and Starscream takes over the Decepticons, and there really hasn't really been any Decepticons, because he's been out looking for the Matrix. And it turns out,
the Allspark,
I mean, and it turns out, spoiler alert, that the main girl's dad, who is the creator of all the robots, the Robot Society, he found Megatron's head, and he basically has reverse engineered all of these robots out of Megatron's head. And so that's the big twist and secret of the show. Yeah, and it's just kind of interesting that it's like this takes place well into the future and they're all, he's still kind of, I think he's still voiced by Peter Cullen, but he's like a younger kind of sounding voice. It's more akin to like Orion Pax.
Interesting.
And yeah, the setup, it's honestly it's way better. The characters are way more interesting. It's one of those ones where there's real deliberate attention drawn to how they select, what makes them select a form. And it's because I really like the guy who does DuckTales. I like his stuff. He's never made a show I didn't like, and I was surprised by how much I liked this. It was really interesting. I would finish this. I'd watch more. I think it's only like 3 seasons. I'd watch the whole thing. I think I saw it it's on, all these shows are on Tubi, by the way, in Canada, if you want to watch it on Tubi. But it was definitely one of those ones where like, yeah, I'd finish it. I don't know that I'm gonna, but I would definitely, one of these days I'll sit down and I might finish it. It was just that good. I really enjoyed it. Highly recommend.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll look into it one day. I'm a little transformered out at the moment, but
right. Jordan, so now we're at the end of the Michael Bay Transformer Challenge.
Well, no, we're not. There's still 2 more.
No, it's not. Officially, the challenge ends at the 5th one, because the last 2 aren't Michael Bay ones. They don't count. The challenge ends at 5, officially.
All right. Well, we'll have to agree to disagree on that.
I mean, they're not directed by him, so they don't. You have to, in order for it to qualify, he has to have directed them. That's the qualification. He did not direct those movies, therefore, they are not his work.
Anyways,
it's not
last night.
It's not a agree to disagree kind of thing. It's by the strictest definitions of the challenge.
Hey man, you're making the rules of the challenge. I can't agree to disagree, so exactly. But I disagree.
Exactly. 5th one. So Jeremy, you're on the final one. You've watched 4 Michael Bay Transformers movies. You're probably pretty burnt out at this point. How did you feel? How did you feel about this 5th one? Is it worse than the last one, I guess, is the question.
Worse than the 4th one? That's a hard question to answer. It's certainly a question that requires a little bit of finagling from me. because as a Transformers movie, it's bad. Like it's bad. It's not it's bad. There's no
I would say as a
forgettable
movie it's
is
bad,
also.
but
Well, see, no, because if you remove the Transformers stuff and just did a movie about a Merlin and his wand and the girl legacy and all the stuff that 70% of this movie is actually about, and it had nothing to do with the Transformers, that's not a bad movie. I'd watch
yeah,
that movie.
fair enough.
It's an enjoyable movie. Um, but as a Transformers movie, it's a bad movie.
Yeah, no, it is.
So
I mean, the cane is a transformer, Jordan. Somehow, the cane is a
like
transformer.
it just.
So you said you did experience. We talked about Golden Bay time. You said you experienced Golden Bay time in the third one, but not in the fourth one. Did you experience Golden Bay time in the fifth one?
In the fifth one, I did a bit because I just was so tired and I just wanted it to be done. It hit a certain point where I just was like, it has to be almost over.
And then you turn on and there's still an hour left. And you're like, how is that
yeah,
possible?
Yeah. And so this one doesn't have as many things that just make me upset.
Right?
Like angry.
You're just tired. That's how I put it. I'm just tired.
Yeah, I know. Tired. I just spent a lot of time going like, this could be a great movie that's not a Transformers movie.
Right?
Like if you remove all of the Transformers element and have this fantasy story about a great granddaughter who is like the great granddaughter of Merlin, and she has to go off on this magical journey to discover her heritage and save the world. Like that's an entirely separate movie that would be fine.
Right?
A little bit bland and overdone, but fine. And you've just thrown all of this robot shit on top of it and called it Transformers, and it's like, so like you've got she's got to get the staff of Merlin to stop the robots from like, and then it's like, oh, and Optimus is here.
Optimus is here. And he's evil for like 5 seconds.
Like it just, they don't add anything to it to make it feel like a Transformers movie.
Right.
Which is why when you say to me it's the worst on the list, right? I'm like, technically yes, because you could completely remove them and really be missing nothing.
Right.
So like as a Transformers movie, you kind of have to say it's the worst one because it's not a Transformers movie. Right? But like in terms of like which one do I dislike the most? No, I don't dislike this one the most. I just don't. I that one I think is the third one.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, yeah, the third one made me the most upset when Optimus point blank shot that guy in the back of the head.
That being said, I do dislike what they did with Hot Rod in this one.
Hot Rod?
Stupid French accent.
It's just a stupid French guy. My favorite is how they have the little robot man who doesn't transform into anything and just drives a car.
Yeah, so like, is he Cybertronian? Is he
technically speaking?
He's obviously not. He's obviously not a transformer because he doesn't transform.
Technically speaking, he is what's known as a headmaster. So his thing was like they basically would like they were the head of a bigger transformer essentially. They were like two transformers that transformed into one big transformer, and he transformed into the head. That's what he's a reference to.
Oh, because they don't say that.
No, they don't. But that's what he's apparently supposed to be.
Okay, and then there's the fact that Megatron is no longer Galvatron. Doesn't look anything like he did in the last one.
Yeah, they just kind of want you to forget that part of it.
Is just a plane again, and he's just Megatron. I hate that.
Cut him out.
I assume.
Cut him out.
I assume it's because that I assume it's because the Contessa or whatever her name is, the evil one that makes Optimus evil. Who is she? Quintessa. Because Megatron has the red thing on his face,
Yeah.
like Optimus does.
Yeah, I think it's
So
supposed to be like
I
he's being
assume that
controlled by her, I guess.
yeah, I
Maybe?
think that's supposed to be the
I don't know.
implication. Um,
Bad movie.
um, and then yeah, there's just the fact that yet again the Transformers are being hunted, and it's dumb. It's dumb.
Dumb. Don't like it.
Dumb.
That's all the Michael Bay Transformers movies, Jordan. Then we're gonna move into the last 2 live action Transformers movies where, the good ones. We're gonna talk about the good ones. We always talk about the good ones last because they're the only good ones. But before I've got one more not final Transformers show, but final Transformers
You
show.
wanted me. You said you were gonna save that question for me about Shia LaBeouf
Oh
versus.
yeah. Who's worse? Who's worse, Shia LaBeouf or Cade Yeager?
In terms of the arc of all all three movies, I would say Sam Witwicky is worse.
He's pretty bad by
Personally,
that third one.
by the third one, he's just so
Insufferable.
Shia.
Shia LaBeouf. LaBeouf.
Insufferable is a word for it. I just also don't believe, how does he keep getting these super attractive girls to be interested in him when he has the personality of wet cardboard?
Right? Say what you will about Mark Wahlberg, he never gets a lady in those movies.
No, he does in the second one.
Oh. But they find him properly reprehensible.
He ends up over the course of the movie, like by the end of it, he ends up with a British chick, like he's making out with her or whatever.
Oh yeah. Jordan, is that it? Is that it for the first 5 live action Transformer movies?
Yeah.
Jordan,
Never make me do this again.
We can close the
Justin.
book, Jordan. We never have to watch. We've already watched them twice. We never have to watch them again. My final, for lack of a better word, rapid fire is I don't have much to say about it. It's a little show I happened upon today, and it's really just to point out how the theme song is way better than it has any right to be. Also, when I said it to you, I said show for preschoolers. Honestly, it's more like a show for 7 to 8 year olds. It's got a bit more drama than that. Basically, the premise of it being Optimus really isn't in it. He's only really in the little bit of the first episode, but it's like about a little family, and they all work for various emergency people, and these rescue bots who are effectively the Cybertronian version of rescue vehicles all come to Earth, and they all become a different rescue vehicle. So one is a cop car, one's a fire truck, one is a helicopter, and one is a bulldozer.
So just from the 40-second theme song that you sent me, it looks basically like Paw Patrol but with Transformers.
A little bit. It's surprisingly a bit deeper than that. It's got a bit more stakes and drama. Like the fire truck one is it's voiced by Steve Bloom, so it's Wolverine. It's just Wolverine. So and he's doing stuff like, "We're not gonna work for you. I'm Wolverine." Like he's doing stuff like that. So he's got a bit of an edge to him. But it's not quite as basic as a Paw Patrol, or it's definitely not for preschoolers. Like I say, 6 to 7, 8 year olds, that age range. Not like this other stuff, which I would say is 9, 10. This is young, but not not 2-year-olds. Not Paw Patrol, I would say anyway. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't have kids. What do I know? But I watched the first episode and it was kind of fun. Yeah, they're all the amount of drama they're solving is the first episode they put out a fire at a museum. They're thus far as of but that's the one I told you. I checked in later episodes, and they're fighting a human who created evil robots who travels through time, and there's actual fighting. So I'm maybe I'm misreading this show. I don't know. It wasn't really for me. I watched one episode and went on to watch the other show, which we're going to talk about later, which I'm actually probably going to finish after the show's over. That's it. I don't have much to say. Truly was a rapid fire. Let's jump into what would take the place of the have scenes, but in this case, I'm dubbing it the only good live action Transformer movies. Let's begin with the only good live action Transformer movie, Bumblebee. which is the first 3 minutes is the only good live action Transformers movie. Let's be honest.
Whoa! Not just the first 3 minutes. There's also a scene later on where you see Optimus on Cybertron again, and you get to see a little bit more of them in those forms. And
That is true.
It's also the best one.
It's true.
But just joking aside, I said this to you the other day, but this is to Transformers what Homecoming is to Spider-Man.
I could see it.
Where they took the Transformers characters and they really Justin, look at me. They really shrunk it down.
Yep, to
so
like
this movie
one
is
character.
Really,
3 characters.
Really about Bumblebee and the 2 Decepticons.
Pretty much,
which
yeah.
works.
Yeah.
It works
absolutely
so well.
It helps that the human characters are also not annoying.
I mean,
maybe the mom gets to be a bit much, but she pulls it together by the end.
I was gonna say the little brother is a little.
Also,
much,
he gets a pass for being a kid, though.
Also, the stepdad, giving her the book like smile more, and I'm just like fuck you, which is the point. I know that's the point, but
I also it's one of those movies where like the character gets a random ability that you know is going to come back in the 3rd act.
Oh, you mean her diving ability?
Oh, she could dive. Yeah, you better believe she's going to be doing a dive by the end of that movie.
But joking aside, I mean, it's good. The Transformers in this movie, the Decepticons in particular, look like the Decepticons.
Yeah. I do.
The Autobots look like the Autobots that you know. The Decepticons are bright and colorful and don't just look like the same old dreary gray.
You could tell them apart. You can actually tell them apart.
And that's a trend which continues over to the next one as well, where it's like, yeah, the characters look like the characters.
Yeah.
Like they just do.
You can tell them apart.
Which I appreciate after watching 5 Michael Bay movies where none of the characters, even the Autobots, didn't look right.
Yeah, it does. It does retain some of his aesthetics a little bit, but nothing overly egregious. And like I say, the character stuff between him and Haley, I forget the actress's name, but the main girl. Yeah, the stuff between Bumblebee and
Haley Steinfeld.
Yeah, Haley Steinfeld is genuinely really good.
Haley Steinfeld. John Cena does an adequate job.
John Cena's pretty good. He's always fun. I always like John Cena.
And yeah, I know the slow build up because they give Bumblebee amnesia. The slow build up and build of their relationship. I actually, unlike Sam Witwicky and Bumblebee, where Sam Witwicky kind of always gave the like, I'm too cool for this vibe towards Bumblebee. I believe she genuinely cares about Bumblebee.
Right? I believe in their relationship.
Like, I believe that there is a depth of care there, which I just don't, especially by the 3rd one.
Right.
You just don't feel between Sam and any of the Transformers.
Is there anything else?
But
anything else you wanted to say about Bumblebee?
I mean, it's small and it's basic and that it works because of that.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel the need to try and reinvent, pardon the phrase, but reinvent the wheel, which is kind of what makes the sequel, the second one,
slightly disappointing.
A little disappointing. We'll get to that.
So
that's all I have to say about Bumblebee. Bumblebee is good. Anyone who hasn't watched Bumblebee should watch Bumblebee.
Bumblebee is good. Don't let the fact that it's not a Michael Bay one dissuade you. That's what makes it good. So what I feel is the best TV show of the bunch for the day. Transformers Robots in Disguise from 2001. Now, I have not told you a lot of what makes this show fun. This show, number one, is all 2D animated. It's all hand-drawn 2D animation. It's dubbed by Saban. So, I guess where do I start with Robots in? So Robots in Disguise sort of comes out off the heels of Beast Wars. So the setup of this is it's not the Autobots versus the Decepticons, it's the Autobots versus the Predacons. And the Predacons are made up of Skybite, who is a shark. I can't remember the other one's name. One is a flying squirrel, one is a skunk, and one is a frog. And then Megatron.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. A flying squirrel? I don't really think of a flying squirrel when I think of terrifying predator animals.
That's what makes him funny. That's what makes him one of my favorites, because there's points where they're like, "There's a flying squirrel coming for me." And they're apparently from
That's great.
They're from the Beast Wars line. They're from the second transmutation line that never came to the show, but they were from Beast Wars.
Interesting.
And so this show is interesting because apparently it's a reboot. Like the Japanese version is a straight reboot, but the dub has a lot of references to the original show. So like it's sort of implied that they've been there a while, because how they like sort of move around the planet is they have the space bridge, which they use to get around the planet to go to the different places. And their computer, I can't remember what the acronym stands for, but it's called TIE, and it's the daughter of Teletran 1.
Huh.
Yeah, which made me okay. So are these? That's where. But then there's stuff that they introduced later on that made me go, not really. So as the show goes on, it's basically like they fight Predacons get into shenanigans, they stop them. And what makes the show interesting is instead of it being like one base group of Autobots, there's different squadrons, and depending on the situation, TIE will call them in. So like there's the Autobot brothers, there's the Spy Changers, there's the Bullet Train, and then eventually they introduce the Build Team, which is a bunch of construction robots. And the Bullet Train and the Build Team can fuse together into one guy. A big part of the show is characters fused together, and it's awesome. And this season the show ultimately, it's dubbed by Saban, so it's Transformers by way of Digimon. So like most of the cast is just the cast of Digimon. One of the build team is literally just Matt. A couple of the Decepticons is Joe. One of the bullet trains is Jedi. The kids TIE, like pretty much the entirety of the Digimon cast at one point shows up, and it's really funny. One of my favorite characters is this woman who just constantly winds up running into the Transformers. Like she's like on vacation, and like she's constantly getting victimized by Transformers in one way or the other. And it took me way too long to realize she was Mimi. Like she even does the bit where she, that Mimi does where she like cries and screams.
Yeah.
I don't want to be here, and I don't want, that. She does that, and I was like, why do I recognize this voice? And it wasn't until there's an episode later on where she's in a hot springs and it keeps heating up, and she's like, "Oh, I'm so hot," and I'm like, "That's Cody. That's Cody from Digimon." So then it gave me a point to look up what characters. I looked up Cody, and that's when I learned the woman who voiced because she passed away, but the woman who voiced Mimi also voiced Cody.
Oh, really?
I know. I was like, oh, really?
Sure.
But it's because it's
I wouldn't have guessed that.
It's the kind of show where characters have like long transformations, and like they all announce their attacks, and like they all have names for their attacks. So me, it's the exact kind of show I love. But they tweak the lore in such a way that it's kind of interesting. So eventually, the Predacons discover a bunch of unused Autobot pods, and they convert them into they rewrite their code, so they become the Decepticons. And Scourge, the evil Optimus, he's the leader of the Decepticons in this version. And so Megatron is the main leader, and he also now has these two subgroups, and the Predacons and the Decepticons hate each other because the Decepticons have come in, and now they're way bigger and badder and stronger than the Predacons, so Megatron doesn't need. So there's episodes where like the Predacons will try to turn they're like, oh, if the Autobots kill the Decepticons, then we'll be the people that Megatron loved. So it's a whole new kind of dynamic. And because each episode,
I just remember Scourge, the evil Optimus, being badass. I remember liking that as a kid.
Yeah, well, I remember him being more like Black War Greymon in terms of his execution. He's way more loyal to
Yeah.
Megatron than I remember. Like he's pretty much straight loyal to he's always loyal to Megatron. He's not making moves. But it's really cool. The one kind of confusing bit is like Transformers will fuse and they'll become another bigger robot, but it's not really. It seems to imply that like they're all like in there together, because I got to the point where Ultra Magnus and Optimus fused and they both seem to be conscious inside it, but the actual main robot itself has his own personality. It was kind of confusing. But you like
sounds like it.
One of the ones that was kind of cool is there's the Autobots have the build team, and they're the guys who they have this storyline where they build the space bridge, so they don't really get to fight, but they want to fight, right? And the youngest one, who is Matt, he's basically just Matt from Digimon. His name is Wedge, and his character is literally just Matt. He wants to fight, but Optimus won't let him, and so they wind up fighting the Decepticons or whatever. And Optimus is like, "Oh, we'll teach you how to fight." And so they start to show up more often in the following episodes, and they have this kind of character arc of learning how to fight, and they can also fuse. And you're like, well, if they can, how come they can fuse? They're just builders. Why would they? But then you see like, oh, when they fuse into a big guy who could just build really fast. You're like, oh, that's why they confuse. But what's really one of the things that's kind of funny is how I mentioned the annoying human characters. The show just kind of forgets that the human characters are there, because the initial sort of setup of the show is that this human character's dad gets kidnapped and he's a scientist and he meets the Transformers and they become friends. But he just kind of disappears for like large chunks of the show, where it just becomes about the Autobots and it becomes Autobot focused. And when it's Autobot focused, it's at its most interesting. Eventually, I only made it to episode 25, but they introduce Ultra Magnus, who in this version is Optimus's brother. And they fuse together into Omega Prime, who is like this massive version of Optimus who is just badass. And it's like, yeah, if you like Digimon, like at all, you will love this show. And it's on YouTube. I totally recommend it. I am probably going to finish it. I know Jordan has seen it. When I was watching it, I'm like, this is why I understand why we like this show. It's probably my favorite. As much as I love the original Transformers, it's probably my favorite.
That's fair.
So Jordan, final live action Transformers movie. And then I can talk very briefly about Beast Wars, and then we're gonna finally jump into Transformers 1.
So what was the name of the evil Optimus in yours?
Scourge.
So my movie also had a Scourge.
Yeah, yours is more closely based to what he's actually like. Mine, I think he just borrows the name. I think.
So does the original Scourge work for Unicron?
I believe so. Yeah. The Terracons working for Unicron. That might be a thing that comes from Transformers Enetron, but I'm pretty sure that comes from the comics, I believe.
Interesting.
They're like
right off
his
the
Heralds
bat,
of Galactus, basically. They're like his Silver Surfers.
Yeah, so basically what they are in this one.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So right off the bat, I want to say it's not as good as Bumblebee.
No. I would never dare to say
that.
It's better than any of the Bay ones.
Not, but it's yeah, it is. It is better than the Bay ones.
Just by nature of the fact that you can actually see what the Transformers are doing.
Well, I mean, the fact that each of the Terracons all are still bright, like you can tell them apart. Exactly. They're not just all gray and blobby looking.
I don't like Airazor's beak.
It
gives me real trypophobia.
My real issue with this one. Is this should have been This should have been a trilogy, which they're probably still making a third one, but that's besides the point. But this should have been part of a trilogy, and this should have been the third one. This has got a real third movie energy.
I don't disagree.
We needed a second one where like maybe they're back on Cybertron, and like at the end of it they end up leaving and coming to Earth. Like maybe it's the movie that's taking place at the same time as Bumblebee, and we're seeing all the events that are happening on Cybertron. Optimus fighting against Megatron, fighting the Decepticons, yada yada yada, and then the end of that movie is them coming to Earth and meeting up with Bumblebee at the end of his movie, and then we get this movie. It just feels like we're missing a part of the story in the middle, and we're jumping into the final part.
I mean, I will
That's
say,
that's my
as a sequel to Bumblebee is not very good because Bumblebee isn't a character in this. It wants to be simultaneously a reboot of the franchise and a sequel to Bumblebee, and it doesn't do either well.
yeah. And so that's what I like. I would have had the middle one, where we get more of the Decepticon battle.
While also somehow pretending that it's a prequel to the Bay movies, which this one they insist this one
No,
is.
it can't. It can't be. Anyone who says it is wrong. Moving on. I think this one suffers from the fact that Autobots or what are the animal ones?
The Maximals.
Not Maximals. Autobots or Maximals having both was too much. I think it's too much. I think this one is bold to try and bring in Unicron
Right.
before you've even done the Decepticons.
But I don't think I'd say I think this movie had the correct instinct of being like, we've done the Decepticons. I didn't need the Decepticons in this.
I think you needed a second one, which because you're
I'd agree with you if you
really...
didn't have if you didn't have 5 other movies of them fighting the Decepticons, or 6 other movies if you count the that's the thing, right? You got to remember those 6 other movies exist.
If you're treating Bumblebee as a reboot, then no, those other ones don't exist.
They're not though. That's the point. And then from their perspective, somebody clearly was like, yeah, people are tired of. I give this movie credit for being bold enough to not include Megatron. Like I respect that.
No, I see. I think they should have had the war on Cybertron, and you got to actually see the Decepticons being Decepticons. You get to actually see the silver Megatron where he looks like Megatron. Like I want that movie. That's what you want. That's what we got with Transformers 1.
I know, but that's not. To be fair, I get the instinct. I do. But not from this. No. I mean, I never want. To be fair, I always want predominantly my Transformers movies to take place on Earth. I will make obviously exceptions, but for the most part, I want them to be on Earth. So like, if we must fight the Decepticons, which look, I'm okay with skipping a movie where the Decepticons show up, and they're gonna show up in the next one.
No, I just if I'm looking at this as an individual story, like a self-inclusive story, it's not very good. And if I'm looking at this as a sequel to Bumblebee, it's not a good sequel to Bumblebee.
I disagree. I think it's I don't think it's a good sequel to Bumblebee, but as a standalone thing, because you have a new point of view character, it does work. Like you can watch it you don't have to watch any of the other ones to get this. You wouldn't, but you could. Like I think
I'm not saying you need to watch the other. I'm not saying you need to watch the other ones to get this. I'm saying that this one is expecting you to know a lot about these characters.
Not really.
Yeah, it is.
It's a good starter in the sense that like it works as an introduction to Optimus. Like if you watch it works as an alternative first one. It's a real like swing of a first movie.
I don't think so.
Because no, it doesn't require. I mean, again, you wouldn't, but it doesn't require you to know anything about Transformers. It gives you enough of an idea of like, yeah, Unicron is a big bad evil one, and he's coming, and these are the evil ones, and these are the good ones. The names to regular people are irrelevant.
I guess my thing with this one is it's too much like the Bay ones.
Yeah,
it's too much like the Bay ones.
Like
it just feels it felt like with Bumblebee, like I had this nice breath of fresh air. I was truly getting a different Transformers movie that was unique and took chances and did its own thing. And then I watched this one, and I just felt like I was watching another Michael Bay one,
can-
and that's not a compliment, and I didn't want to do that.
You can blame people for not watching Bumblebee because Bumblebee didn't make enough money, so they went, shit, the Bay ones make money, make it like the Bay ones. So Jordan, with
Like,
that, with
oh,
that, with
I
that,
ju- like I just sorry, I want to really emphasize here. I don't like this one.
I mean, I
I
liked
don't.
it. I liked it.
I don't like this one.
I think it's the second best one, that's for sure.
I I think it's on par with the rest of the Michael Bay ones, personally.
I don't think you're right about that. I definitely don't think you're right. I think it's competently made. Like it's clear that it will be. It's a better movie by lieu of the fact that final fight sequence where you can literally see everything. Like you can see everything. There's no shaky cam. There's no hiding the Transformers behind shaky cam. It's a better made movie.
But story-wise, it yet again has too many details. You've got the Predacons, you've got the Maximals, you've got Unicron, you've got the like. It's just
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you on the story, but if we're talking the whole package, it's an objectively better movie than all of the Bay movies combined. Just objectively, it's just a better made movie.
You're not.
It's a more competently made movie. So like we're doing a definitive ranking now, Jordan. It's time to definitively rank numbers. Coming in at number 7. What's the worst Transformers movie live action? Definitively. We will accept any other lists are wrong, and ours is objectively the correct one. Number 7, Jordan, is
okay. If we're going from an objective truth and not my personal opinion.
Don't think too much about it. Just say it. Just say a movie.
If we're going from an objective truth and not my personal opinion, the worst one is the Last Night.
What is your second worst one?
The third one.
Fourth?
The second one.
Wait, yeah, 7. Yeah, the second one is your fourth. What is number? Sorry, shit. So 7. Let's recap because I've lost track. 7th is number 5. Number 6.
Seventh is number 5. Number 6 is number 3.
Number 5 is number 2.
Number 5 is number 2. Number 4 is number 4.
It's real number 4.
Number 3 is number 1. Number 2 is Beast, and number 1 is
it's Bumblebee.
Is Bumblebee objectively the best one?
It's Bumblebee, right? It's Bumblebee. So okay. So
now if we were to do my personal, like the non-objective, my personal feelings, it would be largely the same, but 3 would probably be the worst.
That's fair. I don't like. Yeah, that's fair. I think the 5th one, it was just like a lot of astonishingly like it's like a lot of like death by paper cuts, a lot of like what were you thinking stuff.
Well, yeah.
I just can't get over. I can't get over Optimus like executing that robot. Like how upset that made me.
You mean the 3rd one?
Yeah. It's hard for me not to.
Yeah. The 5th one, I have to give it objective. Objectively, I have to give it the worst one because you could remove all the Transformers stuff from it, and it would still be its own movie. The rest of them, you can't remove the Transformers stuff.
Yeah.
But that one, you could literally remove all the Transformers stuff and have it be a movie about a girl who finds out she's related to Merlin. Like that. Yeah. That could be its own thing. So objectively, it has to be the worst.
Let's finish our Transformers television with a wet fart of a show called Beast Machines, not Beast Wars. I always mix up the names. Beast Machines. I'm just going to do this quickly. I used to think is the worst Transformers show till I saw Transformers Cybertron. I hate almost everything about it. Every time I watch it, I hate a little bit more. I hate the designs. I think all of the designs are terrible. I hate how all of the upgrades. I don't think they're all long and spindly legs like Cheetor. Both Cheetor and Black Arachne have long spindly legs. I don't think the voices remotely match any of the character designs. Even the background character art looks bad. because it's just a dystopian city. So there's yeah, Beast Wars is an older show, but it's like on Earth, so it at least like looks bright and interesting. Like it's all dark buildings and just terrible looking. I hate the fact that they turned Optimus into robot Jesus. Like I hate the what they've added to the lore of the universe. Like that the Matrix or the Oracle wants that the world to be organic. It doesn't make any sense for Megatron, that version of Megatron, to be anti-organic, considering he didn't mind being it almost feels like that was meant to be like a different, if it was a different villain, like if it was like some sort of like Cybertronian rogue AI who like wanted to make everything mechanical, then it would bother me less.
Yeah, or like if
like
they had
bring Megatron back and like
or a line of dialogue where Megatron came back like a year or two early and said AI infected him and it's like now inhabiting his body.
I mean, sure, but I would have much preferred it is if Megatron isn't in the first season. It's just the AI. Like all of the robots are like same deal. Like also what they did to Rhinox is a travesty. But do it much the same way.
I like what they
No,
I like
it
what
makes
they did with him.
no
I thought that
sense.
was interesting.
It makes no sense with that character. It makes like I know that they try to imply that it's like he's being corrupted, but a big part of the problem with that show is they were told not to watch Beast Wars. So all of the character inconsistencies and the fact that half the characters are just out of character for 90% of that show, that's why.
Interesting. Didn't know that.
Like there's that episode where Rat Trap betrays them for no reason because he becomes self-conscious, which is completely out of character. Well, that's why Rhinox is completely out of character, and it makes no sense for him to do that. No, I would have had it where I don't necessarily mind Rhinox turning evil, but if they had done it better, it's just the execution that leaves something to be desired for me. But no, have it where Megatron comes in the second season, and he's also got a new form, and he's a good guy now. And they both have to team up to defeat this new I who is like corrupted Rhinox or something. Or like, I don't know. It's just
I mean,
then there's an angle that's at least interesting.
I wouldn't have made Megatron a straight good guy, but I would have made it definitely done a like enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of situation.
I would have done it because they do it so rare. Well, then we talked about that short. That short ends with Megatron and Optimus like shaking hands, but they so rarely do a face turn for Megatron. I would have liked to see a full bore face turn, just because that's part of why we're going to talk about Transformers 1 and what we won't spend too much time talking about the Netflix series because we only watched like 3 episodes, but I like to point to it as a good companion piece to it, and we'll probably finish it for another time. But this to me is an ineffectual version of that, where you they change the backstory of the Transformers in a way that doesn't make any sense, and it's clearly written by someone who is unfamiliar with the universe at large and has no real respect for it and just wants to do something weird and different. And yeah, I hated it. I watched 5 episodes and I remembered how much I hated it. I hated it, and I feel okay saying how much I hate it because I hated it as a kid. It's always the one where
who it was intended for.
Yeah, I hated it when I was a kid because they took all the designs I liked and all the like half of the characters from Beast Wars who were at the end of Beast Wars don't even make it into the show. Like I think the only one who does is Silverbolt, and like none of the Decepticons do. I think there's one episode where Waspinator kind of shows up, but like that's kind of it. It just kind of does a disservice.
Well,
it's kind of a weak.
Their sparks are inside the droidicons or whatever, and so there's a couple episodes where they get their spark back.
Yeah, they come back very briefly, but they otherwise don't stick around for too long. Other than Rhinox, Rhinox is the only one, and Silverbolt eventually gets turned back into an actual Maximal proper. But the rest of the characters don't really come back, and the ones who are there don't feel right. Black Arachne, I swear it's a different voice actress scene to scene. It just was just not very good. And I remember not liking it as a kid. And it's one of those times I was like, surely I can't be the only one who feels this way. And then I Googled it and I was like, nope, everyone agrees with me on this one. We all hate this show for pretty much the same reasons. It's kind of incredible. But that's it.
Inconsistencies.
So, with that, we don't have any have not scenes this week because we both watched Transformers 1. And this podcast is already going to be 3 hours long. and I don't know how long how much we have to say about Transformers 1 beyond the fact that
I liked it.
let's I guess we'll do the non-spoilers first, and then we'll jump into the heavy duty spoilers. Jordan, what are your non-spoiler in a sentence or less thoughts? What's the log line here?
The log line is it's fun, it's faithful, and if you like Transformers, I think you'll like it.
That same. Yeah, people kept saying it's the best Transformers movie ever, and I hate it when people say that because it primes me to not like a thing. But it might be. It might be the best Transformers movie. It asks questions, or it answers questions that you never asked, but you're like, huh, interesting. It presents ideas of Transformers that it's never been asked before, and it answers them in ways that are interesting. It goes into the relationship between Optimus and Megatron in a way that's believable. I enjoyed that. One of the things I enjoyed was how their answer to Bumblebee not talking the last time is to make him never shut up. I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
It's a very
That's
funny
ironic.
movie. Yeah. Do we want to jump? I guess. Do we want to jump into specifics? That's it. Go watch it. Go watch it because it's really good.
Go watch it.
It's really good. It deserves to make the money. I would definitely watch 5 more of these.
It's a nice,
at least watch one more.
Tight film too. It's not too long.
Yeah,
but
it's a nice
it really
hour
does,
and 40 minutes.
It shows you the backstory kind of the schism that divides Optimus and Megatron.
Yeah.
Who in this are Orion Pax and what is he, M10 or something?
D28, D12 or something like that. D something. They keep calling him D.
D16.
D16. So okay, that's it. This is your spoiler warning because it turns out there's quite a bit to spoil in this movie. There's quite a bit to give away. I mean, beyond the fact that you know where it's going, they're going to turn to Megatron and Optimus.
Which they do.
They do turn to Megatron and Optimus. The Decepticons are formed. This movie made me appreciate the Bay movies a little bit in the sense that, like, yeah, I always thought that, like, the idea of, like, multiple primes, like, essentially being the forefathers of the Transformers, I thought Michael Bay made that shit up. Like, I didn't think... So, remember how I was like... So, okay, the big thing with this is the name Megatron comes from one of the primes. He's called Megatronus Prime. And in the theater, I say to Jordan, "Is that a new thing? Did that come? Is that a thing? I've never heard of this before." And that's where the Decepticon symbol. They explain that's where the Decepticon symbol comes from. He does, Jordan. You might recognize him by another name. You might recognize him as the Fallen.
That's interesting,
right? Doesn't it? So when I read that, I went, "Oh." Things click together. Things start to make sense. I was like, huh, that explains a lot. So yeah, he shows up a bunch. There's a bunch of different versions of him, but he almost always is evil. Almost always is evil.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's almost exclusively evil.
Very interesting. So then that makes the question of in this movie is because after he takes after spoiler warning, after he kills Alpha Prime and takes Megatronus's Transformer part and puts it in him, it's after he does that his eyes go red. Do you think that's what makes him ultimately go evil there?
I think his eyes were already starting to turn red because
his eyes did not fully turn red until that moment.
No, they turn red when he drops them. He's like, "I don't need you anymore." Then they keep going red and not red.
What I'm saying is, do you think that part is what ultimately pushes him over the edge?
No, because he doesn't put it in until he doesn't put in Megatronus's part until he kills him, and he's already starting to go bad by that point. So I think pushes him over the maybe when you put it like that, maybe because he's on the edge for most of the movie. Well,
for a good chunk. He's
yeah,
on
for the
edge.
back half of the movie, yeah, he's on edge. So yeah, I guess maybe you could argue that maybe pushes him. Certainly, that pushes him into becoming Megatron. Like he's not. I don't think he's Megatron until which I mean, we're just gonna jump around here. Just to jump ahead, the sequence of him turning into their respective guys might be one of the greatest scenes in Transformers ever. Like just hands down. Like just him ripping Alpha Prime or whatever in half.
Alpha Prime.
Yeah, just him tearing him in
savage.
half. Optimus getting turned into Optimus. Like very much so. This movie does a really good job of explaining or introducing certain dynamics that I've never understood in Transformers. So like the idea of like especially as I went on, why does everyone just kind of blindly follow Optimus into the dark? Like, what is he doing beyond the fact that he has a MacGuffin that nobody else has? Like, what is he doing that? And so, yeah, this movie really demonstrates like his growth to being that inspiring figure that everyone wants to. And it's the same thing with Megatron. Of like, my big thing was like, why if Starscream always wants to portray Megatron on a dime, why does he work for him? And this movie explains that because he came in there and he was this bigger, stronger, faster, guy. He
kicked his ass, basically.
Yeah, he was in charge, and then Megatron came in and took over. Like, and I thought that I enjoyed how the explanation of the name of the Decepticons, like the origin of that
in this version, anyway.
Yeah, the idea that I mean, it kind of seems like based upon the show that we watched that always is kind of where that name comes from. Of like he's tired of being deceived of the hierarchy of. I enjoyed how this movie explored the hierarchy of how Transformers work socially because I've never fully understood that. I like the idea of transformation as a social contract. Like I thought that was super interesting.
Yeah, again, at least in this version, it's
a form of status. Like only high status people get to transform, and low status people don't get to transform. And it's like it's an inherent part. Like I've never questioned how Transformers transform until this movie, and its answer for that was interesting. I thought it was interesting.
It's a part.
Yeah, it's a part that what makes them transform. Yeah. I thought that
which also is a metaphor for a part inside of them, which for a lot of the construction, like the miners and stuff, is a part that Optimus always felt was missing inside of him. It's a metaphor.
It's a metaphor. I like the usage.
It's simultaneously a metaphor and in this movie literal.
Yeah. It's very well animated. The trailer does it a disservice for sure. I will say the trailer does it it's one of those ones where I definitely need to watch it a second time to really like. There's a lot of really fun.
I'd like to watch it at home if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. I know what you mean. I really enjoyed the backstory, the lore. Alpha Sentinel Prime. It's funny because there's a lot of names where like, hey, I know these names. Like obviously, I knew that Sentinel Prime. He is traditionally the leader that precedes Optimus. Usually, he's a good guy.
He's usually Optimus's mentor.
Yeah, and he's the one who gives Optimus the matrix of leadership. So in Transformers in Disguise, in that show, Ultra Magnus basically becomes a Vegeta. Well, he's more like Sasuke.
Krillin?
Vegeta's kind of he's Shadow the Hedgehog anti-hero type character where he shows up and I haven't gotten to the point where he's nice to Optimus yet. But Green Ranger, it's Saban. So he's effectively your Green Ranger or your Kenichi Joji, where he shows up and he's initially a bad guy, he's initially a dick, and
at first he's a dick and then he becomes good.
Yeah, and he's Optimus's brother in this show. And he was second to be chosen for the Matrix of Leadership, and Optimus gets it instead. So it was given to him by Alpha Trion, who is the one who gives them their transforming powers in this movie. So it's like I recognize these names, where I was like, oh, I know these names from other things. And my one real gripe is I don't love what they did with the quintessons in this movie. I didn't enjoy that, mostly because I know I'm familiar. But
Yeah,
if you're not familiar with the quintessons, it's not going to bother you. Beyond the fact that their name is Quint,
but
it's five.
but I also feel like we didn't actually, and we you and I discussed this, but I also feel like we didn't really see them. We saw their underlings,
True, maybe we haven't actually seen them yet. Yeah.
Which, like, cause like we saw what is essentially in terms of the 1985 movie, we saw what is essentially the equivalent of the guy who stood beside the guy in charge.
Yeah.
Um, which leaves the possibility that in the sequel we will see the 5-sided mask version.
God, I hope
like the
so.
actual quintessons.
I do hope so, because yeah, to me that's way more fun. What else? What else? What else did we do? What else? I'm trying to think. Was there anything else that we?
I mean, you said that you wanted a sequel where we see the beginning of the war.
Oh yeah. So okay. So I did save a news story from my news, which they said that if this does well, they're obviously going to do sequels. They fully intend to do sequels, and apparently they have a whole trilogy planned. So my question is, we talked about just one sequel.
I want them. I just want them to name it Transformers 2 and Transformers 3 and not have any underscoring name, none of that. Just have it Transformers 1, Transformers 2, Transformers 3.
Well, I'd like
because
it to be
I think that'd be funny.
I mean, I know I said like beginning of the war, but also if you want to be like, oh, this is year 1 and then the next one's year 2 and then the next one's year 3, that'd be kind of interesting. But yeah, here's 2 questions. What do you think the trilogy will be, and what do you want the trilogy to be? Trilogy, not just one movie, but now you have 2. What do you think they've already written based solely upon what we got here?
Okay. Well, okay.
It's also going to Unicron would be my guess, but
well, yeah, that's kind of what I would expect, is them to lead up to Unicron. But okay, here's what I'll say. What I expect is the second one will begin, and it's been like a year or 2. Optimus has been entrenched in a fight against the Quintessons. Megatron has been slowly biding his time, working up and building an army. And it's like the end days of the war where Optimus is like about to beat the Quintessons, and he's lost a bunch and he's weakened. Megatron like basically swoops up and finishes off the Quintessons, and it like looks like he's working with Optimus, but then he turns against him, and that's like the second half of the movie. That's the start of the war. And then good chunk of the movie will have fighting. Like the second half of the movie will have fighting Decepticons and Autobots and stuff. And I think it'll pull an Empire. And the end of the movie, Megatron will win, and the Autobots will kind of go into hiding. We'll end there, and it'll be like an all is lost moment, which leads into the third one, where Unicron shows up and is trying to destroy the planet, and Megatron has to basically ask Optimus for help, and they have to come together as brothers yet again to fight against the evil force of Unicron. And I don't know how it would end. Maybe it would leave room open for another one, but that's kind of what I would expect it to go.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's pretty much the same for me. As for what I'd want, I mean, I guess that could lead us, unless you have any more.
Oh, what I would want is different than what I think would happen. That's what I think would happen.
Now, when I say this,
we'll do it this way. What do you think is going to happen, and then you go first for what you want to happen.
What I think is pretty much, yeah, exactly. I think the second one's going to be, they're going to fight the Quintessons. I don't think the second one is going to be a Decepticon versus Autobot thing, because I just don't think they're going to do that. They're going to do a thing where it's like reluctant allies, and then you're right. Pretty much what you said. And then I think the third one will be probably Unicron. As for what I want is pretty much that Netflix show, but like earlier in the war, where they're not sad and defeated. So I guess that springboards, unless you have anything else. Go watch Transformers 1. Yeah, go watch it. It's really good. It's much better than the trailers look if you like Transformers. It's not just a good Transformers movie. It's just a good movie. It's just a good time. Don't watch it in theaters. Wait till it comes. No, watch it in theaters. maybe like a Sunday matinee where there are no kids to ruin it for you. And then just real quickly, I just really want to talk about just as a companion piece to
it feels like a sequel to this.
Or this feels like a prequel to that. I mean, I would say that the Transformers one's a bit more lighthearted. There's a bit of cursing, there's a bit of violence. This is a bit more PG to PG-13 and its sort of approach to things. Like I really liked how it had all of the G1 designs. That was really cool.
What's funny is so you know how I like to open up my Wikipedia articles for the different stuff, and what's funny is when you look up the Transformers War for Cybertron, first thing that comes up is the video game.
The video game,
which I thought was funny.
Is this based on the video? Is this an adaptation of the video game?
Well, it's technically so what Wikipedia describes it as is a toy line and transmedia series that is part of the Transformers franchise. And then it says that it takes inspiration or based on the Generation 1 and Beast Wars series.
Interesting. Because this doesn't really feel like it's a prequel to the original show. Like Megatron in this is a substantially different character than he is in that original show. I quite like him in this, and I only watched 2 episodes, which is why this isn't going to be very long. Maybe I
watched 3.
I hear that it gets bad in the second series, the one that introduced the Beast Wars, but thus far I quite like it. I like that it's a bit more. I like that. Yeah, it's sort of what I want out of a sequel. Maybe earlier in the war than this. Of like,
well, and see. So what's funny
it's more of a tactical thing. I really quite enjoyed that.
Part of the reason why I say that it feels like a continuation of the movie, which the only thing which makes it not is Bumblebee, but part of the reason why I say it is because the girl robot from the movie is very much a character in this.
Oh, she's a character from Transformers. She's in quite a few episodes.
I know, but I'm saying I've never really experienced her before. But the character she is in this, is pretty much just exactly the same character as she is in that. Same with the portrayal of Megatron in both that Transformers 1 and this is they very much it feels similar.
This feels like the whole progression of that version of the character for sure. Yeah, where he's still as of the beginning of this episode, unless the point of the show is he becomes. Because I'm like when he in the second episode when Shockwave is like basically used with the Transformers equivalent to like a nuclear bomb and genocide the Autobots. He's like, no, I don't feel comfortable with it. Reprogram
them all, and then in the third episode, he's kind of like, okay, maybe we need to do that.
When he captures
to end the war, so till all are one.
Yeah, he initially captures Bumblebee, and he's like, no, killing him does me no good. He's like, it's more benefit to change your mind and have you join my side than it is to kill you. Like that doesn't help me in an ideological sense. And I'm like, that's interesting, and that's what I want. This it's not gonna be that because the kids want Keegan-Michael Key making dumb jokes that go on for. I swear to God, if he said "bad Assatron" one more time, like he said it too many times, it stopped. It's funny the first time, and then like the 5th time he says "bad Assatron," it stops being funny.
A little bit, yeah.
The only my one thing is they missed a total like in my opinion. Like they ruined the joke because to me the button on that joke is when Optimus first appears as Optimus, Bumblebee should have been like, now that's I said it to you because it was an obvious joke, but they should have had Bumblebee like, now that's a bad Assatron. Like that would have worked.
Said that about any of them. Like if he had said that like Megatron went and shot someone and he was like, oh, that's a bad Assatron. Anything like that.
Yeah, but to me it's better with Optimus because obviously Optimus is the good guy. It's good
as a point of view.
It's a good show. I would like to finish it and then maybe do a follow up part 2, because I really do feel it's a good. Yeah, it is a good. It does explore the interworking political. Like I like the idea of Megatron as like he's a fascist kind of leader who's got secret police. Like basically he won, and it's the idea that the Autobots are the rebels. I think is interesting. It got some interesting ideas in it that I'm like, man, I heard the show is bad. It's not as bad as I heard it was. Is some of the animation a bit cheap? Yeah, like some of the group shots look like they're assets and like it looks kind of bad, but
sure. But a lot of from what you're telling me, a lot of the Transformers shows didn't necessarily have the greatest animation, so it can get a pass.
So with that, I need to rank all of the Transformers television I watched this week. So I watched.
Yes, you do.
I watched 8, including this one. So number 8, the worst one is Transformers Cybertron. It's bad. It's bad. It looks bad. It's not very interesting. It's basic as shit. It looks horrible. It's bad. 7th one is Beast Machines. Don't like what they did with Beast Machines. Not a lover. 3rd one is Armada or is Energon. Only because I didn't watch the first part, so as a sequel, it doesn't really work as a standalone show. Number 5, right? I'm bad at math. Yeah, number 5, is Energon.
You should hold your fingers up so you can keep track.
So we got Cybertron. Justin, you know what? I'm gonna pull up my list because I'm having trouble remembering them. Right. Okay. Worst one is Transformers Cybertron. That's number 8. Second worst one is Beast Machines because I hate what they did to the mythos. The 6th worst one.
That's number 7.
Yeah, that's number 7. The 6th worst one is Transformers Energon because it's a sequel. I really did nothing against it, and also the animation is bad. Number 5 is Armada. Number 4 is Rescue Bots, and that's just because I'm not in the demographic really. The 3rd one is Transformers the Animated Series. The 2nd one is
3rd one.
Did I not just say 3rd one? 4th one is
you said 4.
The 4th one is Rescue Bots. 3rd one is Transformers the Animated Series. 2nd one is the Transformers the Netflix one, the Rise of Cybertron. And then the best one is Transformers Robots in Disguise. Seriously, go watch Transformers Robots in Disguise. It's underrated and it's on YouTube.
Robots in Disguise.
And then the best Transformers movie I saw this week was Transformers 1.
Yeah.
But that's it.
I mean, it's close between that and Bumblebee, but I think Transformers 1 has to take it.
Yeah. I don't know. I love the OG Transformers movie, but this one might be a better movie. I don't know. What? Leave it in the comments.
No. I mean, Transformers 1 takes it over Bumblebee.
No, but what I'm saying is generally, I think that Transformers 1 might be better than the 1986 movie. Just as a movie, it might be a better movie.
I mean, okay, so as a movie, yes, it is, because you don't need to have seen the original show to get it.
Yeah, true.
Whereas with the 1985 one, that's very much a continuation of the show.
True.
And you're
not going to get why
watched that.
Why Optimus dying is sad if you haven't watched the show. That is true.
Yeah.
But
so as standalone movies, yeah, Transformer 1 is definitely stronger.
Have you seen Transformers 1? Leave it in the comments. Let us know. Do you think it's the best Transformers movie? Which one is your favorite Transformers movie? Do you think it's the best Transformers movie? I've said Transformers a lot this episode. And I'd like to end and not think about Transformers for a while.
And if Justin didn't watch one of your favorite Transformers series, comment below and tell us, and maybe in a future episode we'll watch another Transformers series. And if you think that we should somehow figure out how to plug in the PlayStation 3 and maybe play some Transformers games, leave a comment in the comment below, and maybe we'll figure out how to do that.
That is true. Yeah. If I didn't touch your favorite Transformers series, I can watch that when we eventually come back to do another Transformers related episode when the sequel eventually comes out. But with that, oh my God, this episode's almost been 3 hours, Jordan. We had so much Transformers to talk about. There's so much Transformers. We have to talk about the assignment for next week, which is an assignment I'm calling under 10%. So here's the goal, Jordan. You have to pick movies that are under 10% on Rotten Tomatoes. And here's going to be the challenge. You have to either convince me that Rotten Tomatoes is wrong, or you have to convince me that Rotten Tomatoes is right. That's what you got to do. But that's next week. Come hang out next week. We're gonna do that. Under 10%. Leave some suggestions in the comments. Let's wrap up the end of the show. We made it. We made it to the end of the show with no tech interruptions this week. Where can the people find you, Jordan?
I do Minecraft Mondays on Twitch. I do Zscore187, and I'm here at least once a week.
At least once a week. I am now on the Final Frontier. You can check us out. We come out, I think, coming out every Sunday at 5 o'clock Eastern time or Western time? Western time. I'm on TikTok at Justin Spurr.
Boldly go where no one has gone before.
Other people have not had the spare time to do before. And then I'm also on TikTok, Justin Spurr. You can email the show if you want to sponsor the show. You can email or you want to be on the show. You can email the show. It is Justin's business at gmail.com. The show also has its own TikTok. Go follow us there. I post clips from the show on there all the time. Have a good week, everybody. We're gonna attempt to end the show by hitting number 2. Goodbye.